So how are you guys? This is the second part of the story, which is, what if Deku trained beyond limits without a quirk? Before part 2 started, do like, share and subscribe to the channel and comment down your favorite part. Your one like and one subscribe motivate me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. So without any waste of time, now let's start the fanfic. Part 2. It had gotten dark sooner than he had expected, but Izuku wasn't even the slightest bit nervous. If anything, he could barely contain his excitement. He had taken his dream into his own hands, and starting today he was going to be a hero. He was going to be everything he set out to be. All the training, all the studying, every skill he had acquired up to this point was for this singular goal. Though he knew technically he was an illegal hero or a vigilante, this was the only route someone like him could take to achieve his dream. He in all honesty wished it didn't have to be this way, but the world discriminates, it's not fair, and people can be terrible and lack understanding, so all he can do is change it a little at a time. The streets of Mustafu seemed quiet tonight. Izuku was walking around looking for action, an opportunity to put on his new suit. He didn't care what it was, stopping a carjacker, preventing a back alley stabbing or robbery. The hero one would make his debut on the first chance he got. One was going to be someone who helped others in any way he could. He would be someone who would be a hero in every sense of the word, and nothing would stop him from doing that. He was admittedly anxious for some action. He finally decided to duck off into a nearby alleyway. Finding a secluded spot, he opens the suit app on his smartwatch and presses the button. In one moment his body is enveloped by a green light, and after it fades he is in his costume. "This feels awesome," he said as he flexed his right hand. "This suit really sticks to me, but it doesn't feel tight, crazy." He ended this by jumping to the roof of the building in front of him. Scouring over the city he takes in the lights that illuminate in the nighttime. He takes a deep breath and smiles before taking off into a free run. He jumps from building to building, showing off godly acrobatics. He continues on this run for about a minute before stopping on the ledge of a tall building to get a bird's eye view. "It seems a little too quiet tonight. Guess I should have figured the day of a hero is relatively peaceful," he said with a light smile. His thoughts were cut short when he suddenly heard a loud explosion. Turning to his left, he could see that a large apartment complex had suddenly gone up in flames. Jumping from the building and using parkour, he took off toward the scene. He finally makes it to the scene, landing on the building right in front of the one on fire. The fire department had arrived and he could see a news helicopter flying overhead. The scene was intense. The apartment was 10 stories and it was clear that the first 5 floors were completely on fire, and it was spreading fast. No pros had arrived yet. There were over a dozen people sitting with the firefighters, which he could only assume were residences. He saw a man wearing a business suit watching the fire with horror. He decided to talk to him and find out what happened. Jumping off the ledge he was standing on, he runs over to the man. "Excuse me, sir, how did this happen?" he said in his hero voice. The horrified man turned around to see the hero standing behind him. "Who are you?" he asked in a worried voice. "A friend, and I'm here to help. Now please tell me, how did this happen?" he asked, his voice confident and assuring. "It was a villain," he shrieked. "A villain?" "Yes, it was just a calm, normal night when this blonde man walked in. Without any warning he suddenly burst into flames and started torching everything in sight." "Was he a resident or a former employee?" the hero asked. "No, never seen him before today. I was able to make it outside and call 911, but that didn't stop him from setting every floor on fire. Some residents were able to avoid him and make it outside, but many were badly burned." Boom! Hearing the blast and looking up, Izuku could see a pillar of flames coming out the side of the building from what he could only assume was the 8th floor. "He's working fast. I have to get all the people out of the building before I deal with him," Izuku thought. "Do you know how many people are still trapped in the building?" he asked, his hero voice stern. This question brought the man back to reality. "We have 160 tenants. I happened to be checking the number of occupants in the building when the villain attacked. There are 22 that made it out and are being treated by the fire department. The EMs are en route. Which leaves about 138 people still trapped in the building," the hero interrupted. "Okay, I understand the situation now. I'm going to get all the people out of the building, then I'll deal with the villain," he said as he took a couple steps toward the burning building. "Wait, you can't go alone. Shouldn't you wait for backup to arrive?" the manager asked out of worry. "There is no time to wait. I'm here and people need me. Don't worry, everything will be okay. Why? Because I got this, he said with confidence while giving a smile that considerably lowered the manager's worries. In a flash of speed he was gone, rushing into the building and activating the scanners in his cowl to look for any people in the sea of flames that was the first floor lobby. With his speed everything was moving in slow motion and he wasn't going to waste a single second or leave any stone unturned. After clearing the first and second floors and seeing that they were clear he makes it to the third floor and finds that there are people up here but some of the fourth floor collapsed. A wall of fire, metal and rubble were blocking these people from getting to the stairs and a chance to make it down. Slamming a back fist into it and the obstacle was no more. Scanning the hall he breaks down the door of the fist unit on his left and finds a teenage girl around 13 huddled together with her siblings. They all at first were visibly relieved to see a hero. Scooping up all three and in a flash they were back outside, he gently handed them to the fire department and headed back upstairs. Not 10 seconds later he returns with a family of 5 on his back, and then a couple and their dog and eventually all 30 people on the third floor are outside safely. After finishing the third floor he used the hole in the ceiling to conveniently jump to the fourth floor from the third. His mask made finding people truly easy and the smoke and the heat of the inferno didn't bother him at all. He was able to find every person trapped on the fourth floor and get them outside. Those watching from the outside were amazed at what they were seeing. Every few seconds the green-clad hero would return with another load of people. He was moving so fast that you couldn't see him. A flash would come, gently drop a load of people to the newly arrived M's and be right back with more. It was incredible. Almost everyone knows about All Might's debut, and this was looking very reminiscent of that. Izuku had just exited the inferno with 7 people on his back to clear out the 7th floor. He knew the villain was still somewhere on the 9th floor, but he had to avoid him for the time being to get all the tenants out before he dealt with him. He dropped off the injured people with the medics. He stopped to look around and he could see that the news team was on the ground and a male reporter was speaking into a mic while looking at a camera when suddenly the camera pointed at him and the chopper lights fell on him. It was an issue for later. He had people to save. Checking his watch and even he was shocked that he had only been at this for barely 4 minutes and he had already saved over 80 people. He was doing good but the lower levels of the building are becoming structurally unsound. This building would collapse on top of itself if they don't get water in it. Using his scanner he could see the villain was heading back downstairs for some reason, leaving the 9th and 10th floors completely untouched. Making it to the inferno that was the 8th floor he could see that several units were broken into and were on fire. He could see that there were people hiding in several and had a horrifying realization. He set the place ablaze just to keep the people from escaping, and now that most of the place is burning he wants to toss people into the fire. But he doesn't know that I've evacuated most of the people in the building though. I got to move fast. Entering the first burning unit to his right he could see 3 people huddled together hiding in a room to his left. He opens the door and finds Hashiga, Tensaki and a little girl at least 6 with black pigtails hiding in a bathroom. Immediately he was shocked at seeing the 2 but he would never even consider being bitter in a time like this. "Are you 3 okay? Come with me, I'm going to get you out of here," he said in a strong, assuring tone. The 3 didn't argue, holding the girl and Hashiga in both his arms and Tensaki on his back. The 4 left the inferno and in seconds they were met with the cool breeze of the outside. He dropped them off with the medics and went back to work. One by one he gathered up all of the people trapped on the 8th floor. He made sure to check the ones that had been broken into and set on fire first. He hit a little snag when he had to save 3 people, 2 men and a woman who were badly burned when they tried to fight the villain after he kicked the door in. They all had serious third-degree burns and all were conscious, so he had to be more gentle with this pair, but he got them to safely. The 8th floor officially cleared and he sped up to the 9th. This floor wasn't on fire but the floor was unstable because of the inferno beneath it, so he quickly and gently cleared it out and he did the same with the 10th. Coming out of the blaze with his final load from the final floor he could see that everyone he brought down either has been or was being treated. The police had arrived and Backdraft was talking to the firefighters. He knew he had to take down the villain or at least get him out before they could get water in this building. He handed the civilians to the medics and focused his attention on beating the villain that caused all this. He faced the Inferno apartment prepared to enter and end this, but the light of the news chopper and the voice of the reporter behind him made him pause for a second. It's him. That's the hero. The reporter said as his cameraman aimed his camera at the green-clad hero. This hero saved over 130 people and it hasn't even been 10 minutes. This is normally something only All Might could do. Just who are you? The reporter on the ground exclaimed. In the news, chopper and female reporter speaks as the light shines on the young hero. I have been watching this entire scene play out. The fire is apparently the work of a villain. The fire trapped many people on the upper levels, but this green flash of a hero has been bringing them out of the inferno with ease. Over 130 people were trapped and now they are all safe. However, the villain that started this is still at large in the inferno. The hero looks prepared to go back in and finish this. Can he do it? This reporter believes in him. Just seeing all this destruction and seeing his efforts, I can't help but make comparisons to All Might's debut. We will try to get the name of this hero soon. Back on the ground, Izuku was still standing in front of the blaze as he registered the reporter's words. He turned around to face the camera, flashing a big, confident smile, his hero voice shining through proudly as he spoke. I'm a friend, and everything will be just fine. Why? Because I got this, he said with pride and confidence, his smile never wavering and giving a thumbs up to the camera on the ground and one to the helicopter. Everyone watching this from home was amazed by the words of this new hero. He was different but reminded many of All Might in a way. And in a flash he was gone back into the fire to face the villain. Izuku sped through the blaze, making his way to the villain. Using his scanner he was able to spot his form on the far end of the 6th floor and ran to confront him. When he gets to the 6th floor, everything is on fire, the ceiling, the walls, but most importantly every unit was broken in and was on fire. Watching his step is to not destabilize the already weak floor, he heads down the hall and makes it to the far end just in time to see a unit burst into flames, and out walks a slim, muscular man of above average height with long spiky blonde hair that defied gravity. Where the hell is everybody? He roared. While you were busy setting their home ablaze, I was busy getting every single person out of here. The fire villain looked at the hero in green and gave him a death glare. Why the hell did you do that? I went through all the trouble of trapping them in this wonderful blaze so I could watch them all burn in it. He said without the slightest shred of guilt. I figured that. That's why I worked fast and got everyone out. It's just you and me. He ended this sentence by getting into his stance. The arson villain merely chuckled. Typical hero, you're never any fun. He yelled as her fired a wave of flames at Izuku so strong they cover the hallway and blast a hole to the outside. The boy merely blocks the attack and he doesn't even feel it, and there isn't a single mark on his suit when the fire dissipates, much to the villain's surprise. He puts his hands together and prepares to fire another attack, but it's not going to happen. Izuku rushes him, forcing his hands apart, leaving him open and hitting him with a palm strike to the chin, then an elbow strike to the gut, followed by a flurry of punches to the chest. He tries to throw another flame attack, but the hero locks his hand between his own before grabbing his arm at the tricep, pulling him over his shoulder and throwing him down the hall. The villain rushes to his feet, but he doesn't see the hero down the hall. Turning around he sees him landing a side flip, landing on his right foot. In the same motion Izuku brings up his left foot for a strong kick to the villain's chest, sending him flying and making an impact crater in the wall at the other end of the hall. The villain fell out of the wall and landed on his face. What the hell? He said in a weak voice as he struggled to pick himself off the hot floor. The hero looked around and saw that the fire was getting worse and it was time to get both of them out, but as he approached the villain he saw him pulling what looked like a syringe from his pocket. I don't know who the hell you are, hero, but I'm about to turn you to ash. He roared as he shoved a syringe into his neck. His body violently convulsed for a few seconds before it stopped. The hero could only wonder what that drug was as he slowly began to get up off the floor. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. He yelled before cocking his arms back and launched a column of flames stronger than anything before. EI sword, crescent slice. With one vertical chop the incoming flames are parted, not touching the hero but still flying through the hole behind him with a loud blast. It destabilized the end of the hall and made the ceiling collapse with the debris falling through several floors. Whoa, was Izuku's first thought as he looked back at the fallen ceiling and looked back at the arson villain. That drug, it must have been some kind of quirk enhancer. He's more dangerous than ever. I have to end this now. The villain in his doped up state was clearly shocked at how easily the hero shrugged of his attack. How the hell are you not Ash? His stance flawless, and though the lids in his mask were white, he could feel the hero's gaze piercing his soul as he spoke. You can torch a building to the ground, but you can never burn what I am, friend. The villain visibly shook at his words. You wanna bet? He roared, as he lunged at Izuku. He came at him with a left hook that Izuku easily deflects with his right hand, and in that same motion he hits him with a left that makes him slam against and bounce off the wall beside him. Before the villain could react, he received a high side kick to the face that sent him back, almost knocking him out of the hole at the end of the hall. Fuck yo! He roared in pain on the floor as he spat out blood and what Izuku could just make out as a tooth. The villain raised his arms and brought them together, cupping his hands. When he did, all the flames that covered the hall came together, trapping Izuku in a compressed ball of fire. The hero crossed his arms and quickly expanded them, dispersing the fire prison, revealing a dimly lit, black, scorched hall, but the villain was nowhere to be seen. He could still hear the crackling of the still burning building when suddenly, he couldn't. He rushed to the hole in the wall at the end of the hall where the villain had last been seen, and looking up he saw the villain, and was shook. He was producing flames from his feet that he was using to fly, but what worried him was the fireball he was holding above his head that was getting bigger. The fire from the building was being transferred into the ball and was making it grow bigger, brighter and hotter. All the fire from the building had turned the fireball into a miniature sun that could be seen from blocks away, and then it began to shrink until it was the size of a softball. Oh no, Izuku said in a low voice. Looking to the side, he could see the fire department and several M's still helping people. He had to make sure that compressed inferno was aimed solely at him. I'm gonna torch every last one of you bitches. His declaration, catching the attention of the onlookers. What do you mean? Didn't you say something about turning me to ash? I'm still here, and there's still not a scratch on me. Izuku said, making the villain look at him. Seeing that the hero was indeed unscathed by his fire trap, the villain had had more than enough of this hero. I'm really sick of looking at you, you know. It's about time I really roast you for ruining my fun. If you think you can do it, then be my guest. They struck at the same time. The villain cocked his arm back and threw the ball with all his strength, and the small ball expanded and flew at high speeds upon leaving his hand. In that same moment, Izuku jumped in the air directly in the path of the burning ball of death. Rising higher and higher, the hero raised his fist into an uppercut that made the ball explode in a burst of flames when his fist made contact. The villain, in his arrogant and high state, had no time to register what just happened, as the hero was still coming. Izuku soared through the fiery explosion like a missile, his fist connecting and sinking into the villain's gut. The hero spins, bringing a kick to the villain's shoulder and sending him flying to the ground at high speeds. Izuku kicks off the air, propelling him to the ground. First, he raises a hand and catches the unconscious villain with his hand pressed into his stomach. Lowering the unconscious villain and looking and seeing that the fire was completely gone, leaving only a burnt building which would be easily repaired in a week or so, Izuku could finally take a breath. Everything turned out all right. He took this time to look at his watch and saw that this had barely taken 10 minutes since he jumped into action. He carried the unconscious villain and immediately heard the cheers of approval when the people saw him. He handed the villain to Ems, who began working on him. He was unconscious. At first inspection they saw that the worst of his injuries was a broken jaw. He was immediately thanked by all of the tenants that he saved. Many of them were going to be taken to a shelter until their home was fixed, but many of them had to see their hero and thank him. Everyone was so overjoyed and thankful just to be alive that it made Izuku feel so warm. And it reminded him that this is why he put on the suit, that this is what his training and power was for. After making sure that all those present were okay, he was about to take his leave, but the news crew had other plans. Wait, you saved all those people and defeated the villain in no time flat. The only one who can even compare to that would be All Might. Before you go, can you please tell us who you are? Said the male reporter, shoving a mic and camera in his face. Izuku looked at the camera and mic and simply walked past the news team before stopping with his back to them and turning his head to the right to look at them. My name is One, he said with pride and confidence before leaping into the air across the city. The hero One, now soaring through the sky, was happy at how his first job went. My first job as a hero was an absolute success. My one regret is that I couldn't save more of the building. Oh well, the government has insurance that covers repairs and losses for villain attacks, so everyone should be fine. With all the news coverage, I wonder if I'll make the news tomorrow. I don't see any hero as my enemy, but I know once I'm well known everyone will be trying to catch me. He let out a sigh at the thought. Oh well, if I have to fight I'll fight, but hopefully I can avoid it. Izuku came out of his thoughts when he noticed that he was descending and gently landed on the roof of a building. So, I wonder what else I'll get into tonight. His thinking out loud abruptly ended when he heard a loud crash a couple of blocks to his 2 o'clock. Jumping to the buildings across the street and using his parkour skills, he arrives at the scene in no time. He stands on the ledge of a building overlooking a battle between Death Arms, Present Mike and Kamui Woods. There were 2 police cars present. Several cars were flipped, and it was apparent that the 3 were losing. Present Mike's amp was broken and he was leaning against a building while Death Arms was smashed into a car nursing a clearly broken arm, and Kamui Woods was fighting an uphill battle against a villain with some power-type quirk. The villain they were fighting had a broad muscular build, short brown hair, rough facial features. He was shirtless, only wearing a green jacket with black jeans and boots. Is this it? Where is all that crap about justice you were spouting a minute ago? I'm getting damn bored here. The man yelled. Lacquered chain prison. Kamui called out his super move. This again. The villain stated. His body began to give off this blue hue. He pulled his fists back and in a burst of speed and power he broke through the hero's wood and slammed both his fists into his chest, sending him flying. Some heroes. He was about to walk away, but he was stopped when a figure landed from a flip in front of him. And you can call me one, and why were you fighting those pros? I was just looking to beat down some heroes. So I trashed a couple cars to get their attention, and it was too damn easy, they're so weak. Then they went on a tangent about justice and I just had to shut them up. What good is morality when you're weak? You can't help or save anyone, all you need is overwhelming power, and if you don't have that I suggest you retire. So you're trying to make them quit. Why? What happened to you? What would be the point in explaining my motivations to a twig like you? Let me guess, you're some freshly baked hero just entering the scene. This is my first day, yes, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to understand people. You clearly resent heroes, why? The boy asked. He wasn't sure what it was, but Izuku could tell that the man was remembering a painful memory before he suddenly lunged at him. You'd never get it, he roared as his body began to glow with a blue hue. He unleashed a flurry of strong, blurring punches at the green hero, but he easily dodged all of them. Sorry in advance, the hero said as he formed his right hand into a chop and used that to block every one of the man's blinding punches. After punching the hero for 10 seconds straight, the man ended his assault because for some reason his hands were hurting way too much. He looked at his hands and to his shock and horror, he saw that just by blocking, this hero had broken all 10 of his fingers, each of them were bent and twisted in several places. You little, was all he had to say before he received a palm strike, making him do several backflips before he was wrapped in wood. Good job, rookie, said Kamui Woods, breathing heavily and clearly in a lot of pain. While the man was being processed, he went over to help both Present Mike and Death Arms. The ambulance arrived to take both heroes and the man for medical treatment. The heroes were loaded up and taken away, but the man was sitting in the ambulance in handcuffs. He needed to know why he resented heroes so much. The man was looking down but looked up when he saw the green hero approach. You beat me, and you didn't throw a single punch, he said, his voice low, almost happy about that. So now will you please tell me why you resent heroes so much? He looked the green hero in the eyes before taking a deep breath and speaking. Because they're all talk, he said, venom in his voice. Izuku took a moment to register his words. He came up with a theory, and unfortunately in the world of heroics it was an unavoidable outcome. Heroes failed to save someone precious to you, didn't they? His voice flowed with empathy and compassion. My best friends are gone and they're never coming back. And the only solace I got from the heroes was them saying they weren't good enough, their quirks weren't suited to handle the situation. The hell am I supposed to do with that? You say you help people, your job is to help people, then do it. Justice, morality is a bunch of crap. If you're not strong enough to handle any and everything, to help and save any and everyone, don't you dare call yourself a hero. He yelled, his eyes piercing the green-clad hero. Izuku took a deep breath before talking again. I'm really sorry about your friends, I'm sure they were good people and cared a lot about you. I can't really say I disagree that heroes should be able to save and help any and everyone, but I also understand that everyone can't be physically strong, but everyone can be strong and save people in their own ways. My strength is meant to help and save people in any and every way I can. I can't speak for other heroes, but I swear to you that not being good enough or suited to the situation will never be said about me. Because when I arrive, everything will be okay," he said, his hero voice exuding confidence in a way that made the man believe it. The man let out a faint smile as the medics began to load him up and take him away. "If you were there, I'm certain my friends would still be alive." "Who are you anyway?" Putting his fist to his heart and giving a bright smile, he responded. "I am one. I'll remember that." The name's Ishin Daigoro were his last words before he was carted off to a villain hospital. "Well, I better get going, this is turning into quite the night," Izuku said as he prepared to leave. "Wait a minute." He turned around to see Kamui Woods and two police officers approaching him. "You said your name was one, correct? I've never seen you around, do you mind if I see your license?" Now, while he knew this was bound to happen, he was hoping it wouldn't happen on the first day. In his mind, he was a hero no matter what anyone said, so he couldn't just go round beating up others' heroes, especially in front of two cops. Turning around to face the three men. "You know how it is, Kamui Woods, a hero's always on the move," he said before leaping off into the sky to once again soar across the city. This display left the three men in shock, most notably the wooden hero. "I think that was a vigilante." The hero again soars through the night sky, the bright lights of the air simply beautiful. His talk with Daigoro would be on his mind for a while. He had long since decided the type of hero he would be, and the ability to reason and understand others, even his enemies, was an important part of that. He began descending once again and landed on the roof of another building. He looked down to observe his surroundings and saw he was in the city's entertainment district. The building he was standing on just happened to be across the street from the Love Hotel run by the R-rated hero, Midnight. Apparently the place gets great reviews and it's always a good time. "No. Stop. I said I don't want to go in there," said a feminine voice. It came from down the block. Doing some free running, he saw a pretty girl with orange hair, wearing a white mini vest over a black crop top and black skirt, who was being pulled towards a Love Hotel by a guy in a suit. The guy was trying and failing to goose her into going in, but he still kept pushing, and the hero wasn't having that. "I don't know how you were raised, but my mom told me when a girl says no, she means no." These sudden words startled the two as there were no people around them. The hero jumped off the roof, then landing and flipping off a street light, he made his presence known. "Who are you?" the girl asked, slightly scared. "I'm one. I heard your little dispute and I came running. Everything okay here?" he said, ice grilling the man through his lenses. The man looked between the girl and the newly arrived hero. The way he jumped off the building meant he'd been watching for a while. He took one final look at the girl. "Yeah, we're good here," he said before walking down the block. The girl looked over at her hero. "Thanks for that, I really appreciate it," she said with a thankful smile. "No problem at all. Who was that guy anyway?" "Just some guy my friends tried to hook me up with." "Some friends. They're not that bad. We're just not cut from the same cloth. Does that make sense?" "It makes perfect sense. So are you a new hero? I've never seen you around before." "Yep, it's actually my first night out and it's been pretty eventful so far." "The life of a hero, hope you enjoy it." "Thanks again, I'll be going now," she said, beginning to leave. "Wait, you don't think that guy will bother you again, do you?" he asked, genuinely concerned. "Nah, I should be fine, and if he tries I'll just let one of my friends have him, they'd be more than eager," she said jokingly. "Later one," she said as she walked away. The hero just waved back at the girl who walked away down the street. While the entertainment district is usually one of the more shady areas of the city, after an hour with no action, one decided to move on, leaping into the air to another part of the city. "This has been a pretty eventful night. I saved people from a fire, took down an arsonist, helped a hurt guy and saved a girl from a creeper. I'd call this a good night. I was able to avoid fighting a hero, but that will only last so long. Oh well, I wonder what else is in store for me tonight." He lands on the roof of a building, this time overlooking the shopping district. He thought he definitely should have started here, as this is where most crimes are likely to occur, and with that come a lot of heroes. Just looking down he could spot Air Jet, even Endeavor and his sidekicks on patrol. As he was on one of the more taller buildings in the district, he scanned the rooftops and saw a man standing on a ledge observing for action just like he was. He was wearing a black outfit, with a strange scarf around his neck and yellow goggles. He was sure he was a hero, but off the top of his head he couldn't name him. "It'll come to me eventually." He stood on the edge of the rooftop, and after checking his watch to see that it was almost midnight, he decided to call it a night. He leapt into the air in the direction of his house, finding a secluded alleyway to change out of his costume before heading home. Eraserhead. That's who that was. I knew it would come to me. I'd probably blow his mind if I had to fight him. I wonder if I'll be on the news because of that fire. It's really going to get crazy when they find out that I'm a vigilante. Doesn't matter, because I'm here, and I got this. Izuku slept great last night. He felt really good. His first day as a hero had gone off without a hitch, and it was only the first of many great days to come. Getting out of his bed and doing some stretches to wake him up, he heads to the bathroom to wash up before his morning workout. There was an energy in the apartment that just felt different the moment he opened his door. He walks in the living room to see his mother preparing breakfast while the news is playing on TV. "Good morning, Izuku," his mother said, smiling at him. "Good morning, Mom. How are you this morning?" "I'm fine. Breakfast will be here when you finish your workout, so get dressed." "Will do," he said before walking into the bathroom. She wants to ask how my night went. She's probably expecting to see my new hero identity in the news having done something crazy. He thought. He let out a small sigh remembering their conversation when he told her this is what he wanted to do. Flashback 1 week ago. The two Midoriyas are sitting at the kitchen table eating dinner in silence. The younger of the two tries to find his words as he's about to ask his mother for her approval to break the law. His mother was amazing, loving, caring, and most of all, supporting. From day one she supported his dream of wanting to be a quirkless hero. She knew from the moment he was diagnosed quirkless what his life would be like, how people would treat him, the obstacles he would face. But in spite of all of that, she always believed in him. She believed he really could achieve his dream and be everything he wanted to be. When his world was falling apart after his diagnosis, she very easily could have apologized to him and wished that things were different. But she didn't. She told him he could do it, but he had to be willing to work hard for it, and he did. She was right. He had obtained the strength, skills, and abilities to be the hero he wanted to be, but his dream as a pro hero is unobtainable now. Surely she would understand why he wanted to do this, but still. His masters supported him, his best friend supported him, he needed his mom in his corner on the path he was prepared to walk. "Hey Mom." He perked up after finishing his food. "Yes Izuku. You know that I applied to 3 other hero schools after the rejection from UA, right?" He asked, his green eyes meeting hers. "Yes, I know. Did one of them accept your application?" She asked, hopeful for her son. "Well, that's the thing, no. All 3 of them rejected my application for the same reason UA did," he said, not trying to sound hurt at the still fresh pain of rejection. Inko looked down, trying to fight back tears at her son's words. "I'm sorry Izuku. You've worked so hard for this, just for them to not give you a chance," she said, her words carrying anger. "Yeah, this hurts a lot. I've been told my whole life I can't be a hero without a quirk, and that's apparently a sentiment the Hero Academia shares. Still, I don't want to give up on my dream." Inko looked at her son, proud of his determination but confused as his dream was now unobtainable. He's been barred by the same institution that has to give it to him. "How do you plan on being a hero, Izuku?" she asked, curious at what her smart son was planning. "I want to be a hero that can save anyone, anywhere from anything. That's what I've always wanted to be, and I know I can. I want to be that hero, more than anything, even if hero society says it's impossible for someone like me. That's why I want to be a vigilante." Inko was shocked at hearing this. Her son was telling her he wants to break the law. She was about to give her thoughts, but he cut her off. "I know that this must be a shock, but I've thought long and hard about this. I wish I didn't have to resort to this, but I can't just give up on my dream. For someone like me, taking it into my own 2 hands is the only way to obtain it. I have spoken with the masters and they gave their support, now I am asking for yours, Mom." He looked her in the eyes, his gaze almost pleading for her approval. It was very reminiscent of the look he had when he asked if he could still be a hero despite being quirkless. Emerald eyes met as the mother cleared her throat. Izuku, you're asking me to give you permission to break the law. Her voice raised almost a yell. What if you get arrested? What if you die? What about your future? Her worry was evident with every question. Mom, I really wish that it didn't have to be this way. I've worked really hard all these years and I've become really strong. I have thought of all the possible ways this can go wrong and I promise I won't let that happen. This isn't about me playing hero, this is about me taking my dream into my own hands because the world discriminates against people like me under the guise of it being for my own good. I won't let this negatively affect my future. I'll get into a great high school and university, and I'll find a great career. I'm asking you because you always believed in me and I didn't want to go behind your back. I'm just asking you to trust me. His eyes showed the same look from the night after he was diagnosed quirkless. Inko thought back on all the years since that day at the doctor's. She told him and firmly believed he could be a hero like All Might, still does, but the Hero Academia barred him from that goal. A hero was all he ever wanted to be since the day he saw All Might's debut. All the years he spent training for this one singular goal just to be told he can't have it, and to not have a chance to try and prove them wrong. She was angry that her son had to deal with this disrespectful, blatant discrimination, but a part of her was proud that in spite of that he still champions on. She didn't want anything to happen to him, but she knew she couldn't stop him. She found the perfect place to prepare him and now all she could do was support him. Okay, she said, almost reluctantly. Okay, so you're okay with this? He said, thankful but still shocked by her answer. Yes, I kinda have to be on board with this because even if I objected I'm sure you would still do this anyway. I am so sorry that they hurt you Izuku, and I wish that things were different. You said that you would be careful and not get arrested or worse killed. I am choosing to believe that. As much as I don't want you to risk your future by doing this I'll support you, but, if you do this then you are going to accept any and all consequences that come from this decision, she said in a stern voice and a piercing gaze. Izuku took in his mother's response. A part of him was expecting her to say no and him breaking her heart by doing it anyway and potentially damaging their relationship, but she said yes. Though clearly worried of how this could go wrong she's having faith that he won't let that happen. He didn't want to hurt or disappoint her by failing, when her trust as well as support of this decision was all he asked for. His mother continued to believe in him and he was eternally grateful for that. Even more so he was thankful for the mother he had. Thank you Mom, I promise I won't let you down. There will also be some stipulations, the biggest of which is if your grades suffer from this then you're done until they're acceptable again. Okay. End flashback. After brushing his teeth and flossing, Izuku took a quick wash off before throwing on some black sweatpants, blue t-shirt and sneakers. Be back in a bit Mom, he said before closing the door behind him. He did a couple of light stretches before walking to the park down the street. For people who were up this early it wasn't uncommon for them to see him doing his morning routine of 400 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, ending this with a 30-kilometer run around the city. Izuku took off into the city, running at a pace that those who saw him would mistake his casual run for a sprint. He saw a lot of the city on these runs, especially when he added parkour to the mix. Sometimes he would spot villains up early and up to no good, he would have to leave it to the pros but now one is all over it. He ended his run at Dagoba Beach. He saw only one car in the parking lot as he stepped onto the platform overlooking the beach. Stopping to take in the beautiful scene of the beach and the tranquil sound of the crashing waves, he saw a man standing at the shore edge. He was really skinny with scruffy blonde hair that ran back. Izuku, having enjoyed the view, decided to head home for breakfast and take a shower before school. Unbeknownst to the boy the skinny blonde man was deep in thought. Just barely 2 weeks ago this place was a dump with mountains of trash everywhere. I figured this would be a good place to train young Tagata but that's been scraped. More importantly, who cleaned this place so quickly? You'd think local news would be raving about whoever restored this place to its former beauty. This was great community service if nothing else, he thought. Izuku returned home to the smell of a delicious breakfast, and a news report of the public thanking the unknown person who cleaned Dagoba Beach. He hopped in the bathroom for a quick shower and after getting dressed he finally sat down for his breakfast. The two sat in silence for a while before the mother chose to speak. So how was your night? She asked, genuinely curious. It was pretty good for my first day, I think I had a really good debut. He smiled at remembering his night. Really, what did you get into? Her question was interrupted by the sound of the news on TV. Who has won? This sudden announcement made both the Greenettes turn their attention to the TV. 3 reporters, 2 men and 1 woman were sitting at a table with the headline above them. What was first thought of as a new hero but was actually a vigilante burst on the scene last night and got himself involved in several incidents last night. One of the men said. The woman spoke next. That's right, a villain with a fire quirk set an apartment complex on fire. Some were able to make it out but many were trapped with no way out. The fire department arrived minutes after the emergency call but with the villain still inside they couldn't get in and save anyone. That was until this vigilante clad in green showed up. What he did and how efficiently he did it was incredible. We have the footage, enjoy. A clip played of the fire last night and a flash delivering people out of the fire every few seconds. It then showed the moment after he cleared out the building with his back to the camera. It played his declaration of everything being okay because he's got this before flashing a smile and thumbs up to both the cameras and then going back in the building in a flash. Next it showed him beating the arson villain, giving his name to the media and leaping away. Impressive, this was done all within the span of 10 minutes and it was over before any pros arrived. What are our thoughts on this? She asked her colleagues. While it was good that no one was killed in this situation, I can in no way condone his actions. He may have had the best of intentions but we can't condone vigilantism. One of the male reporters said. This just looks to me like a All Might wannabe playing hero. He got lucky but this could have gone so wrong, the pros would have been just fine without his intervention. The other male reporter said. Well, I can't say that I support his actions but I am glad that no one died. That wasn't the only incident he was involved in last night. Apparently there was a man causing chaos just to pick a fight with some heroes. Death Arms, Kamui Woods and Present Mike were all involved and while the details were not fully disclosed, both Present Mike and Death Arms needed medical attention and in a statement from the police this same vigilante in green interfered and defeated the man. Kamui Woods attempted to question him but he left before he could. Thoughts? As I said before, he's just an All Might wannabe playing hero. If he's watching this, I have a suggestion. Your actions, while brave, are more reckless than heroic. I suggest you stop this little game before someone gets hurt. He said, facing the camera. Izuku finally turned away from the TV and looked at his mother. Well, it's not like I didn't see this coming. Still, this is the furthest thing from a game to me, and I'm going to make sure that people know that. Aldera Junior High. Izuku and Taku were talking in their corner in the back of the class before it was time to start. So, your first day was a success I presume, Taku asked with a sly smile. Yeah, it all went pretty good. In all honesty the fire felt a lot longer than it actually was. The suit is awesome by the way. Taku could only smile upon hearing that. Well, of course my man. Me and Grandpa put a lot of effort into making it as good for you as possible. I'm already thinking about upgrades and new designs. He said excitedly. Really? Of course, what craftsman is satisfied with a base model? Plus every hero needs more than one costume, and if I can improve it or make it better I'm gonna do that. Well, I think it's already great as is but if you think it'll help go for it. Bet. Speaking of, I saw the news this morning, must have been rough with such a harsh critique out the gate. Not really. I knew this was inevitable. The only thing that hurt was him claiming that this was a game. I'll prove them wrong in time though. Sweet. By the way, how is your girl reacting to all this? He asked with a sly grin. Izuku narrowed his eyes at his friend. If you're talking about Momo, I never told her. He said plainly. The Greynet was shocked to hear that. Wait, really? I figured you would have ran to her and told her about your crushed ambition at which point she would pull you into a boobalicious, comforting hug. After all, no woman can resist a man on the verge of tears. His sly grin never wavering. Her boobs aside for a minute. I didn't want to tell her because it would mean I can't stay with her. He said, sadness evident in his voice. Taku raised an eyebrow. What? We said that we would support each other and chase our dreams together. Now my dream from a conventional standpoint is unobtainable. I want to keep training with her and being her friend but soon she'll be off at UA and I'll be off who knows. Plus she's trying to be a pro and that would be conflicting if she was with me so. I just didn't want to face that until I had to. Well, I think you should tell her everything, honestly I think she would understand. He took a deep breath before speaking. You think I should? He asked, genuinely concerned about his friend's answer. Yeah, you said that you two said you'd support each other. If she really meant it then given the circumstances she'll definitely support your decision. He said with a confident smile. Izuku thought for a moment on Taku's words and he could only hope that he was right. He texted Momo if he could come over after school as this was something that needed to be said in person. She had become an invaluable friend to him in the past 5 months and he didn't want to lose that because he wasn't honest or didn't trust her. He didn't want to keep his life as one a secret from her either. God forbid he had to fight her because as a hero her job would be to catch him. So at this point all he could do was hope this goes well. Classes ended that day and Izuku got the green light from Momo to come over. He and Taku were about to leave the class when an interesting subject came up. Hey, did you guys hear about that new vigilante? Said a random boy. Yeah, he showed up to save people from a fire and he beat the villain that caused it, all before the pros showed up. Said another boy. Yeah, I could actually see the fire from my window, that's how close it was, I'm just glad it didn't spread. Matter of fact, doesn't Hashiga live in that building? Asked a girl. Why else do you think he's not here today? Came the voice of Tensaki. Everyone listening to the conversation looked at the long-fingered boy. He okay? Asked a random boy. Well, most of his stuff got torched so he's not great, I was actually with him when it all happened. Everyone's attention skyrockets having heard this. Everything was on fire. We couldn't escape at all, I seriously thought we were going to die. The villain even kicked the door in and started burning the place, we had to hide in a bathroom. Then he showed up. Hero, vigilante, I don't care, he told us to come with him and in a flash we were safely outside. He was awesome and I wanna thank him if I ever get the chance. Izuku smiled before exiting the class with Taku. He would never regret saving him and Hashiga, but it still felt weird hearing one of his primary antagonists unknowingly praising him. Chuckling a little, Taku perked up. Bet that felt weird. The greenette nodded in response. Yeah, a little, even if he doesn't know who it was he wants to thank me, and he thought I was awesome. That's just crazy when you think about it. You plan on going out tonight? Taku asked. Of course, it may be a little late when I go out assuming everything goes well with Momo. Alright, if you need your sidekick I'm always on the line. After giving a fist bump and walking in separate directions after leaving the school, Izuku headed to the train station. After an hour's train ride he made it to Momo's front gate. He had to take a deep breath before pressing the button and asking to be let in. He passed the gate and walked the road to the mansion. He had to admit that he was a bit anxious. What was he going to say to Momo? How would she react? Hopefully she would accept it, but the thought of her not only made him more hesitant. He finally made it to the front door. I just have to man up and do this. He thought before ringing the bell with Saikawa answering the door. Hello Midoriya, the madam has been expecting you. He said with closed eyes. Hello Saikawa, how are you today? The boy asked as he walked through the front door. I am doing well, yourself? I've been good, though admittedly I'm a little nervous. I have to talk to Momo about something important, do you mind telling me where she is? She was in the library the last I saw of her. He said, his eyes still closed. Thank you. Izuku bowed his head to the older man before making his way through the giant mansion to the library. He entered the giant library and found his beautiful, black-haired friend sitting in a lounge chair. Hey Momo, he exclaimed while waving at her. The girl looked up from her book. Hello Izuku, it's good to see you. She smiled at him, putting down her book. What are you reading? It's nothing important, just a book of different fairy tales and myths. I didn't know you were into that kind of stuff. Well, usually I'm not, but some of these stories are pretty interesting. I've actually read some pretty interesting stories like that, but the only ones that interested me were the ones about heroes. He said, smiling sheepishly as he rubbed the back of his head. Naturally. Momo said with a smile. Okay, let's hope this works out. He thought to himself. Mind if we go for a walk and talk? Sure, let's walk around the garden. She said as she got up and noticed that Izuku was at eye level. Did you get taller? Izuku realized that he had grown a bit. He was now just as tall as Kachan now, and Momo had always been taller than him, but now she had roughly a centimeter on him. I guess so. They left the library and began walking toward the garden. They walked in silence for a while before the girl decided to speak. So, how have you been? I haven't heard from you in a few weeks. I was glad to get your text. Yes, sorry for not keeping in touch, a lot's happened over the past few weeks. He looked her in the eyes, trying not to lower his head. Such as. Her onyx eyes looked at him with concern. This was it, this was the moment he had been dreading since his first rejection letter from UA. Hey Momo, can I ask you a honest question? Of course. My whole life, not many people looked at me or treated me like a normal person because I was quirkless. Growing up, practically every attempt I made to make friends instantly died the moment I didn't have a quirk to show off. I've essentially always been a pariah at school because of that fact, couple that with my dream to be a hero, and for some reason it causes people to show me the worst parts of themselves. It hurts. It really hurts to be treated like a freak and be belittled just for having dreams like everyone else. People mock me just for trying. But you never did. Why? The black-haired girl took in her friend's words. He had been through so much. She was admittedly shocked to learn that he was quirkless at first, but she didn't mind that fact at all. She couldn't possibly understand how hard his life must have been. The statistics may show that 20% of the world's population is quirkless, but what the stats don't show is that most of them are people in their golden years and couldn't care less about it. However, kids born in this world built on quirks was a different story. Mental health issues, self-harm and suicide are very high in that demographic, especially amongst teenagers. I'm not the type to judge someone off something as trivial as their quirk or lack thereof. Izuku, you're the first and only quirkless person I have ever met, so it didn't seem logical, rational or necessary to blindly discriminate against you. I had only known you for a few days when you told me you were quirkless. I thought you were a good person when we met, and Sensei clearly thought highly of you. Plus, having a quirk has nothing to do with your character, so I guess it didn't bother me. The boy smiled at hearing her words. Well, thank you Momo, you don't know how much that meant to me. He said, meeting her eyes with a big, grateful smile. You're welcome, she said, smiling back. Her answer largely mitigated the nerves he initially had about having this conversation. Time to press on to why he came here. Walking in silence for a while before reaching the garden and walking through the landscape. Momo. Yes. I'm not going to UA. What? Why not? She asked, clearly confused. You see, the thing is, 2 weeks ago I got a letter from UA. Basically it said that they won't allow me to take the entrance exam because I'm quirkless. His eyes met hers and his words never faltered. The girl lowered her head for a moment, clearly sad about this news. She knew that UA was a special school, and although it was disrespectful not to give someone a chance to try when their motto is plus ultra. She knew and was afraid that they might do this. She just never wanted to tell Izuku. Have you looked into other schools? She said in a slightly sullen voice. He sighed as he continued. I did. I applied to Shiketsu, Ketsubutsu and Isamu, but they all said the same thing that UA said. They say they are protecting their school and me, but it's actually just blatant discrimination. Momo was shocked and angry that all of these respectable schools would deny him a chance to try and get into their hero department for the same reason. Izuku was one of the strongest people she knew, and she was certain he would excel in any hero course. The actions of these schools were nothing less than disgraceful. She was really looking forward to them going to UA together, training and becoming heroes together, and now it was impossible. They said that they would help and support each other in their shared goal. She had gotten much stronger with Izuku's help. He had become a cherished friend and invaluable to her progress these past few months. What do you plan to do now? She asked with concern. I have thought long and hard about this. I know exactly what direction to go in. The world discriminates. If I just accept this and let my dream die, I'll never get over it. I have decided that I'm going to be a hero, no matter what anyone says. I'll use the skills I have obtained to help people in any and every way I can, so I chose to become a vigilante. He said, his eyes never leaving hers. You want to be an illegal hero. What if you get arrested? What if you get killed? I have thought about all the reasons this can go wrong, and I won't let that happen. This is my dream, Momo. It's all I ever wanted to be, and this is the only way I can. I could really use you in my corner too. He said, almost pleading. Too, she said, raising an eyebrow. Yes, I have the support of my mom, my masters, Taku and his family, and I would really appreciate yours. Okay, she said in a calm voice. The greenette, though happy, was still shocked at her seemingly easy response. So you really support my decision? Sorry, but I was expecting a little more of a pushback. It's as you said, Izuku, this is the only way someone like you can be a hero. The Hero Academia blatantly discriminated against you, you tried to go the proper route but they shut the door on you. We said that we would help and support each other in becoming heroes. If this is the path that you have to take, then I will support you. Just promise me that you'll be careful. She said, her words carrying nothing but care for him. Izuku was happy, really happy. The day of his rejection from UA had been one of the worst days of his life, made even worse by the letters followed. His dream, his aspirations had been constantly stepped on by practically everyone, but he always championed on. Because even if others didn't believe that he could be a quirkless hero, it truly would have been impossible if he didn't believe it. He took his dream into his own hands, he was going to become everything he dreamed of becoming, and he had all of those who believed in and acknowledged him in his corner. Thank you, and I promise I will be careful. You're welcome, she said, smiling at him. They continued walking in silence for a while before Momo decided to speak again. So do you have a costume or even a name? Yeah, I have a costume, and my name is One. 1. The girl said with a raised eyebrow. Why 1? Is that supposed to mean something? I chose the name 1 mostly because there is only one of me. Not to sound conceited, but I'm certain there's no one else in the world like me. I am quirkless, but I can do things that even those with quirks can't do, he said with a confident smile. Okay, she said in a curious tone. She made a mental note to ask him to show her what he means later. And what does your costume look like? I'll show you. He then played with his watch for a few seconds before his body was enveloped in a green light, revealing him in his costume when it faded. So Momo, what do you think? He said in his hero voice with a charming smile. Momo walked around him a few times, becoming more and more mesmerized by his form the more she looked at him. She knew he was muscular, but his suit was really showing just how defined his muscles were. He looked like a god sculpted from marble. It looks really good, Izuku. I wasn't expecting such a well-made suit. I am assuming Fujiwara made this. Yes, Taku and his grandfather made this suit for me. It feels amazing and it admittedly came out looking better than I hoped. It's fireproof, bulletproof, bladeproof, comes with scanners and provides maximum mobility. It feels like I'm wearing nothing at all, he said in his hero voice as he did a pose. Momo instantly brought her hand to her mouth to try and hold in her giggling. In the time she had gotten to know him, she learned that though it wasn't all of the time, Izuku had no problem with being a goofball, and when he was, it usually made her laugh. So, how often do you plan on going out and being one? I plan on this being a daily part of my life. I actually plan on going out on patrol when I leave here. They spent the next hour just enjoying each other's company. They talked about training, and Momo had improved a lot over the past few months and she was only going to keep getting better. Izuku told her to ask Michiko if she could live at the dojo since winter break was coming up. He'd be living there like always and she could get even better if she did, to which she said she'd definitely ask her when she came tomorrow. As the sun was starting to set, Izuku decided to head back home, promising next time to stay for dinner. He headed back to the train station and hopped in the train back home and immediately ran into the city. Finding a secluded spot in an alley, he donned his costume and jumped on the roof of a building ready for some action. It had gotten dark and there was a tension in the air that put him on edge as he scoured the city. Hearing the sound of chaos to the east, he headed over to see that the largest bank in town had been broken into. The entrance had been blown open and there stood 2 villains holding large bags full of what he could only assume was cash. People were running from the scene while several were watching and recording for some stupid reason. One was average height while the other was taller. The taller one had a brownie build and was wearing a mask to cover his face, metal armor covering his upper body with metal sleeves and gauntlets on his arms and hands. He also wore baggy cargo pants and black combat boots. The shorter one had a lean build and was wearing a black spandex suit that covered his whole body, only exposing his mouth, and white hair with a blue bolt on his chest. He also wore blue goggles. We could wait for the heroes to show up because reasons. How much longer do you think he's gonna be? The white-haired villain asked his partner. Who knows? He said he had a personal mission, it shouldn't take too long. Here, you get these back to the hideout, we'll catch up. The brawny villain said as he handed his partner his bags of cash. One decided that now was the time to make his presence known. Jumping from the building he was standing on, he landed as a flash behind the brawny villain. You know, it's called a job, gentlemen. His sudden arrival made both of the villains jump back in shock. Where the hell did you even come from? The lean villain exclaimed. That doesn't matter, all that does is that you two are going to return that money and turn yourselves in for this. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right, the only problem is that, FWOOSH. He never finished that sentence as his body was instantly shrouded in blue lightning and he jetted down the street, bags of cash in tow. Ta. Fucking idiot. I've got the fastest speed quirk around. I've gotten away from Hawks and All Might. See you later, loser. He yelled as in less than 5 seconds he had made it 2 blocks away. Did I ever claim to be Hawks or All Might? Came a voice that gave the fleeing villains chills, as suddenly the hero was right beside him to his right. The name is one, by the way. The hero told the running villain. He blinked only once and the hero was gone again. When he looked forward again, there he was, but it was too late. With one chop to the shoulder everything went dark, the horrible realization dawning on him before he lost consciousness. He's faster than me. That's one down, one more to go. They did imply they had another partner still in the bank. Heroes should arrive soon, let's wrap this up quickly. Grabbing the bags of money and slugging the unconscious villain over his shoulder, he ran back down the street in a flash, stopping in front of the brawny villain and placing the money and his unconscious partner on the ground. I am surprised you were actually able to outpace Bolt, said the villain. Well, that confuses me, because I doubt you're as surprised as I am that you're still standing here after realizing that. The villain smirked behind his mask. You're clearly a rookie hero and don't know how to pick your battles, so let me tell you, I'm far more powerful than Bolt. He had speed but no power, he said in a condescending tone. Yeah, I kinda figured that. But why were you guys robbing a bank any? He who strikes first wins. The villain roared as he lunged at the hero. But his thrill of a surprise attack was instantly stunted when one caught his fist and gripped it like a vice. While there is some truth to what you just said, you're better off using a sneak attack on someone more likely to fall for it. The hero said as he cocked his fist back. The sound of crushed metal rang out as one shot his fist into the villain's gut, completely destroying his armor and undershirt, leaving only his well-toned six-pack exposed. I see. So you're strong as well. You have beaten me, he said through shallow breaths through his mask. Is that really what you expected me to say, you fool? He yelled as his skin began to darken. All this armor was just a minor protective outer shell. Behold, my quirk turns my flesh into armor. Many times harder than steel. Now what will you crush? The villain's gloating was ended by the same fist sinking into his gut, much harder this time, causing excruciating pain and making him spit up blood behind his mask before everything went dark. My master once told me that you can never trust the skill of those who spend more time talking than fighting. Don't know why you two felt the need to rob banks, but I hope you change for the better. Oh crap, I forgot to ask about their other partner. Boom. He was brought out of his thoughts as he looked up and saw that an explosion blew a hole in the top floor. As the smoke cleared, he saw a figure falling down, followed by feminine screaming. A woman was falling from a lot of stories up. Before he could even think about it, he was in the air, and in a flash the falling woman was in his arms. Don't worry, I got you, miss, he said with confidence. You've got me. Who's got you? She exclaimed as they were several stories off the ground. Ha ha ha. No need to worry, because I got this. Skywalk. He kicked off the air, allowing him to fly across the sky. The panicked woman, still clutching him, was astounded. You can fly? Well, something like that, the hero replied. What even happened back there? That's right, a villain is trying to break into our primary vault. You have to stop him. I'll get you on the ground and then I'm all over it. After getting the woman on the ground, he made a perfect jump to the hole at the top of the bank. He entered what was clearly an executive's office. The entire floor was one big suite. The smell of smoke was prevalent in the air, and he could hear the sound of someone rummaging through something in the far end of the suite. He headed down to what he thought was a vault and saw a man going through cash, merchandise, and various things in the vault. He had curly black hair and was wearing a crimson-red coat, black skinny jeans, black boots and shades. Looking for something, buddy? One asked, clearly rhetorical. Obviously, but it don't seem to be here. Well, since what you're looking for isn't here, mind telling me why you threw a woman out a window? 1. That wasn't a woman, that was a hoe, it's basically a freebie. And 2. He started to pick his nose as he said this to the hero's disgust. Finding a suitable bogey, he flicks it at the hero, who easily dodges it. Who does the boom? One is sent flying from the force of the explosion into the safety glass behind him, cracking it. Exploding snot. That's an unusual and nasty quirk, he thought as he got back to his feet. Well, what I wanted isn't here, so I guess I'll just kill you to vent my frustrations. Sound good, hero? You're welcome to try, but I doubt trying to kill me will help with your problems, he said as he got into his stance. The villain lunged first, throwing a wide punch at one that he easily blocks with his forearm. He was suddenly surprised when a powerful explosion blasted from the point of impact. As the smoke cleared, the hero stood firm, completely unfazed by the explosion. So it's not just your snot, your quirk turns your entire body into a bomb, he deduced, confident in his analysis. That's right, I can turn any part of my body into a powerful bomb, making you the biggest form of fool for fighting me. The villain's arrogance shining through. I'm not so sure about that, one stated before kicking the villain in the gut, sending him flying across the suite almost out the window. The villain gets his bearings and tries to stand to his feet, only to be met with a chop to the head, making him drop to the floor, cracking the tile and falling unconscious. Well, that's over. I should ask that woman what he was looking for, but she's probably with the pros by now. Oh well, he said before putting the villain on his shoulder and jumping out the window back down to the entrance at the bottom where he left the other 2 villains. Unsurprisingly, there were heroes and police grouped and already taking the other 2 villains into custody, with the woman from earlier talking to police. All eyes were on him when he hit the ground. Yo, I got one more right here. He was trying to find something, but fortunately it wasn't in the vault, he said as he placed the unconscious villain on the ground. We'll take it from here, said an officer as several approached to collect the villain. He looked around to see Air Jet, MT, Lady and Kamui Woods ice grilling him. It didn't take a genius to know what was coming next, so he chose to make his leave. But the moment he took a step, a long tendril of wood flew at him in an attempt to grab him. In a flash he was gone, with the wooden tendril wrapping around nothing but air. What the, where'd he go? The wooden hero thought, but before he could process his thoughts he felt a hand on his shoulder. Relax a little, okay Kamui Woods. I was only leaving. You know what they say, a hero's always on the move. The wooden hero's face shifted, clearly annoyed by that statement. No, you're under arrest for vigilantism, he said in a stern voice. Ah yes, I knew this was inevitable, but a couple things. First, my name is 1, please address me as that, and 2, boom. In a flash, followed by a sound that could only be described as several sonic booms at once, he was gone, leaving the all who witnessed his departure stunned. 1 was running through the city at a constant speed of Mach 5. He could perceive everything, and it all moved in slow motion. It showed that most of the time the city really was peaceful. Until it wasn't. He knew it was dangerous, but he jumped into traffic and perfectly shifted across the street, and he saw about a dozen men in masks robbing an electronics store. They had already loaded several TVs, speakers, computers, processors and the latest game consoles into a van and a pickup truck. No alarm was going off, so he assumed one of them had a quirk that made that happen. At the distance he could count a dozen men rushing in and out of the store, and assuming there was one man in each of the cars ready to drive off if something went wrong. Rushing to the thieves, he chose to target the ones who weren't carrying anything first. With blinding speed and a single chop to the neck, 5 of the thieves dropped to the ground unconscious. The others looked around, shocked at seeing their allies suddenly go down, but not seeing who did it. They were even more shocked to see that the merchandise they were just holding was also gone. What the hell is happening? Said one of the panicked thieves. The thieves were still in shock when a voice came out of nowhere, putting them all on edge. You know, some people save up for a long time to buy this stuff. Seems kinda lazy for you guys to just steal it. The remaining thieves look into the store to see a hero in a green costume with a black cowl standing up from a crouched position. Looking behind him, they could see all the electronics that they were just holding. So you're the one who knocked out our guys, growled one of the thieves as he assumed an attack stance. That's right. I don't know what you want with all that stuff, but I'm taking it all back, one said, getting into his own stance. Of the 7 thieves in front of him, not many of them seemed to have an offensive quirk except for 3. One of them's arms morphed into giant gorilla arms, another touched the metal pole beside him and his whole body was coated in metal, and the third one's hands began to glow blue and gave off an intense vibration sound. He quickly blitzed and knocked out 4 of the thieves in a flash. The metal man tried to hit him with a right hook but the hero dodged and grabbed his wrist. One then pulls him down and brings his left knee to connect with the right side of the thief's head. I can't have this fight in the store, some stuff could get busted if we do this in here. He thought before spinning and throwing the metal man into gorilla arms, sending them both out the store and into the street. Glowing Hand got distracted from seeing his friends be sent flying so easily. The hero took this opportunity to jump at the villain with a flying kick. The power and momentum of the kick carried him out of the store but the hero kicked him again, sending him flying past his teammates and crashing into the brick wall of the building across the street. The thief's hands stopped glowing and he fell off the cracked wall hitting the ground unconscious. The 2 remaining thieves looked in horror at their defeated partner. He took down Sheen without breaking a sweat. The metal thief said in a shallow, frightened voice. Okay, here's the plan, I'm gonna take him while you get to the van and get out of here. Gorilla Arms whispered to his partner. Alright, but you be right behind me. I'll catch up later. Gorilla Arms assured. 1. Having heard that entire exchange as he was walking toward the thieves, could only look at the van and truck loaded with stolen electronics and the knocked out thieves on the ground. So no one was a getaway driver in case something went wrong. Everyone was in there stealing something. These guys are not good thieves. The hero thought. However, he didn't have time to criticize their non-existing thievery skills as Gorilla Arms jumped at him. He brought both his arms back to try and smash the hero into the ground. One was prepared and simply crossed his arms above his head. The thief brought down his fists, not breaking the hero's guard but cracking the concrete beneath him. One parted his arms which forced the thief's arms to part as well, leaving him open to a back flip kick sending him high into the air. The thief, while in intense pain, was still conscious after that one, but he had no time to react as in a flash the hero was in the air, directly in his face. Senju blows. The hero yelled out. The hero threw punches at such blinding speed that 1000 materialized, his final punch slamming the thief back to the ground, cracking the sidewalk, leaving him an unconscious, pummeled mess and his arms returning to normal. As one's feet hit the ground he heard the van's motor starting up. He rushes to the car before the thief can even switch gears. The hero rips the door off and snatches the thief out of the car, throwing him across the street near the knocked out Glowing Hands. Guy, who the hell are you? The thief roared. The hero smirked at his question. You can call me one. And we can keep fighting or you can sit down while I call the authorities. The choice is yours. His hero's voice stern. The villain only grunted as he put his hand on the brick wall behind him and his body was slowly covered in it. I'm about to knock you out, hero. Everything was going so smoothly, we were about to make a killing but you had to go and fuck it up. He roared as he rushed towards the hero. His assault however was instantly halted as he was forced against the brick wall. Pain shot through every nerve in his body. He was coated with brick but it didn't do a damn thing to protect him from this guy. He could see the hero looking right at him, with his fist shoved into his gut, and he could hear and feel his brick coating crumbling away. He was running to punch the hero. He blinked and he ended up like this. The darkness was beginning to take him, only able to muster the words of his shock of the past 5 seconds. So fast, he said in a weak, shallow voice. Not just fast, powerful, one said, in a strong, confident tone. With the thief's coating completely gone and him being knocked out, one finally decided to lay him on the ground and call the cops. He jumped onto the roof of the electronics store. It felt a little weird calling the police to tell them that you just committed vigilantism, but he trusted Taku that they couldn't track the phone, so he went for it. Hello operator. This is the hero one. I just stopped some thieves who were robbing an electronics store. They have all been incapacitated, so please come pick them up. Suddenly feeling a presence behind him, he sees something heading for his right forearm. Reacting more than fast enough, he lowers his arm and spins to the right, grabbing the item with his left hand. To his surprise, it was some kind of long fabric that was leading a trail back to a man standing about 10 feet behind him. Yes, you have a good day as well, he said before hanging up. That's not really a human way to say hello to someone, Eraserhead, he said, trying to ease what was surely going to be a tense situation. Maybe not. Even though that was a nice catch, you still won't get away from me. His tone was 100% serious. Where'd you even come from? He asked, genuinely curious as he didn't notice him before he got so close. I was watching your entire fight. The hero raised an eyebrow behind his cowl. And what did you think? You're under arrest for vigilantism. Not surprised you're saying that, but come on, I'm not the bad guy here. One exclaimed. You're committing a crime right now. So yeah, you are. The older man stated. That's a pretty black and white argument, and I'm not gonna get taken in. Then resisting arrest will be another charge placed on you. Well, the police should be here to clean this up in a minute, so make sure it goes smoothly for me, would ya? And also sorry in advance. The moment these words left his lips, one rushed at the erasure hero with blinding speed while still holding onto his scarf. In a flash he was in the older hero's face before connecting a high kick to his chin, bringing him off the ground. Eraser, stunned and in pain, couldn't react to one jumping and spinning in the air, effectively wrapping the hero in his own scarf. The vigilante pulls back on the scarf, making it tighten and slamming the pro to the ground with a loud thud. Once again, sorry for that. See you around, Eraser. Bye, he said as he raised a hand with his back to the pro before leaping into the air and flying across the city with Skywalk. The pro, after some wrangling, was finally able to free himself from his own scarf, and unbeknownst to one he was using his quirk on him the entire time. My quirk, it doesn't affect him. Damn, this guy may turn into one hell of a problem, he thought as he finally stood up, nursing his chin. One was soaring through the city, performing spins and just feeling like the wind. He had first developed his skywalk technique a year and a half ago, but tonight was the first time he got to use it in the field. It quickly became one of his favorite techniques, and it's one of his most versatile. Soaring through the sky like this made him feel like a real Saturday morning superhero. Hell, even All Might can't fly, and he was proud that he, a quirkless kid, found his own way to do it. Despite how much fun this was, he couldn't shake the fear that he would have many more confrontations with heroes, specifically Eraserhead. He hoped he didn't hurt him too badly. It's their job to arrest him, but it doesn't mean he has to try to seriously hurt them because of it. After all, they're all fighting the same fight. Today has been quite a day. I now have everyone important to me in support of my decision, but in hindsight I can't believe I was scared to tell Momo. Taku was right again, I guess. I'll patrol for another 3 hours or so and I'll call it a night. I almost forgot I have a Cal test tomorrow. Let's go. It was a little over a month and a half before graduation from Aldera Junior High, and many students were excited to move on from this chapter in their lives. Many had already submitted their applications to various high schools, some of which favored specific career paths. Izuku was uncertain as to where to go. After all, he really never thought of a school that wasn't part of the Hero Academia. He had finally made a list of some schools with a good overall record. He chose Fumizuki Academy, Sakai High, Kunugigauka High and Tokioka Academy. All of these schools were good and were strong in academics, athletics, sciences and business. These were among some of the top schools in the country, and graduating in the top 50 from one of these schools would grant him connections and a scholarship to any college he wanted. Taku was in a similar situation, as he really didn't care where he went. His mom wanted him to go to Kunugigauka High as it had a strong academic program and it wasn't too far from home. However, he didn't care about that because he just wanted the school to be a good environment, have plenty to do, and most importantly, have pretty girls. He decided to just go where Izuku goes, as he had seen his list and those schools fit the bill of where he'd be fine going. The deadline to send in their applications was in 2 weeks and the school's respective entrance exams were in 3 to 4, so they had time. With classes ending for the day, Izuku and Taku decided to hang out for a while before he heads out on patrol. So have you chosen a school yet, Izu? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm leaning towards Sakai High. It's got a good, pretty well-rounded school. Meh, I'll just go wherever you go, I'll be fine wherever I go. I just hope that there's a lot of beautiful girls wherever I go, he said with a sly grin. Izuku lightly chuckled to himself and smiled at his friend. That's just like you. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, how are those new upgrades working for you? They came in handy the other day, right? He asked excitedly and curious to see how they went. They were perfect, Taku. They were exactly what I needed and they made the job so much easier. I knew where to go and could swim deep and fast enough, but the new lenses really helped me see, he said excitedly. 3 days ago he had stopped and drug deal, and through some interrogating and hacking into one of the dealer's phones with his hero phone to trace a call, he was able to find their base and take down all the dealers, only to find out their shipment had already gone out and was resting in a submarine somewhere in Suruga Bay. The smugglers were waiting for a customer to arrive the next day, after which they'll move up the coast to meet their other buyers. He called in the dealers the hideout for the cops to come pick them up. It was already dark and he quite literally ran to Sugura Bay. He knew where the drop was going to be and dove into the water. He could hold his breath for a long time, and by using a technique he dubbed Blue Walk, a combination of sky walk underwater and freestyle swimming, he was able to soar through the water far faster than any torpedo or fish. The issue was, after combing the area for over 40 minutes and forgetting which way is up twice, he decided to get out of the water. His lenses didn't help him see at all, even with lighting, and his scanners couldn't make out what was clearly in front of him. He didn't even know if he got close to the sub. Fortunately, due to a previous upgrade, Taku can speak directly into one's cowl and see what he sees from the supercomputer in the lab and from his own laptop supercomputer. He lets one know that he's on it, and the next day he added new lenses to his cowl that worked like goggles, allowing him to see perfectly on land and underwater. This allowed him to find the sub about 500 meters down, and while he could have pushed it back to the surface, he decided to wait for the buyers to show up. He easily knocked them out after they called the smugglers to come up. The moment they opened the hatch, he jumped in and swiftly beat them down. He called the police to clean up and left. Glad everything worked out. So happy to be a helpful sidekick, he said with glee. We're a team, Taku. Your gear has really made most of my jobs way easier, he said, completely honest. Thanks, man. There was a pause before he spoke again. Not to sound weird, but I love seeing you in action, bro, he said, excitedly. I'm just living my dream. I'm glad you enjoy the show. Better than live television, Taku chuckled. The two friends continued to walk together, not really heading anywhere, just talking. Ever since Izuku became one, they hadn't had much direct contact outside of school. Even though Taku watches through his lenses and talks to him while he is working, it's not the same as being face to face. The two decided to head to their favorite cafe in town, the White Fox, and grab a bite. Upon entering the place, they are welcomed by Nanomi Kaibara, the very first person Izuku ever saved. After that incident with the serial stabber, Izuku was welcome here anytime, and the place was so good that he kept coming back, to the point he became her best customer. Hey Midoriya, Fujiwara, welcome, the usual, the brown-haired woman asked with a smile as they entered. Yes ma'am, the boys said in unison. Taking a seat in their usual booth, one of the waiters brings Izuku a soda and soda water for Taku. Taku decided to bring up a subject Izuku had been dwelling on the past few days. So the festival's coming up. You gonna invite Yaoyorozu? The brunette lowered his eyes with a small smile. Yes, actually I was. Taku raised an eyebrow as his sly grin only grew. Oh really? I was expecting you to procrastinate and I'd have to give you a push. Nah, not this time. I'm gonna ask Momo to come to the festival with me. I don't wanna jinx it, but maybe this will lead to something more between us, Izuku said with hopeful confidence. He thought back to the winter break where he went back to living and training at the dojo. It was even better as Michiko allowed Momo to live there too. The two became even closer during this time. This time around only 10 students came to live at the dojo, with Izuku, Momo and one other being the oldest. With the intense training schedule that came with living at the dojo, the days were brutal on everyone that wasn't Izuku and one more. He more or less became an assistant master during this time, as many of the students were training in disciplines he had already learned. So he was able to help everyone improve in their technique. He and Momo sparred almost every day, and it amazed him at how, even though slightly, she improved every time they did. He showed her around town, bringing her to the cafe, and she even went for a flight with him on Taku's plane. The three became quite the trio during that break. She even saw him in action as one. People in the area were suffering from some kind of poisoning. It turns out it was a man with a quirk that emits a toxic gas from his body. Normally he controls it, but it builds up over time, making him sickly and becomes hard to contain if he doesn't release it. But the gas slips out and poisons people, so he tries to contain it at the cost of himself. One came up with a solution of grabbing the man and jumping high into the air and having him release all of his toxic gas. Upon doing so, one throws a punch so fast his fist catches fire, causing the cloud of gas to ignite and explode. After getting back on the ground, he assured the grateful, crying man that he'll gladly do this again. Momo couldn't help but smile and be proud of this kind of heroism. Well, I wish you nothing but the best, my friend. I've seen you two together and I think it'll go well. Unlike my situation, he said in a sarcastic tone. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Are you still upset about her friend zoning you? That was 2 years ago, Taku. Who cares how long it was? You know how fine she is. While she wasn't as curvy as she is now, that hurt. He said dramatically. Well, she still thinks highly of you if that helps. Izuku said, trying to uplift his friend. With the fact that you're probably going to get with her. It does not, he stated while pointing a finger at Izuku, who smiled sheepishly. Oh well, it's in the past. Taku exclaimed, his mood instantly changing. By the way, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but... He began searching for something on his phone. This guy looked familiar. He showed Izuku a mugshot of the same Sludge Villain he encountered the day he met All Might. Izuku takes the phone and reads the news article saying that he had broken out of prison sometime last night and was loose somewhere in the city. It says imprisoned for several crimes including robbery, assault and murder. He's clearly very dangerous. If he's still in the city somewhere, I'll find him. A guy like that would definitely creep in the shadows. Knowing that, he should be easy to find. His mind began to analyze all the ways he could catch this villain. And he had to do it fast because in his time as one he learned that a desperate villain is the most dangerous. So if the Sludge Villain was on the run, then he'll do anything to keep from going back. Looks like one is back in the news. Taku said, bringing him out of his thoughts. Handing him his phone again, Izuku saw a video of news reporters asking people on the street their opinions about one, the Greenwind Vigilante, one or the Emerald Flash, one as other media outlets called him. The younger people they questioned viewed him as just another hero, while several older adults couldn't condone his actions as there is no difference between vigilantes and villains. The video ended and he just shrugged at the negative judgment, knowing he would convince them all in time. As the two continue talking, Nanomi brings them their usual orders, katsudon for Izuku and yakitori for Taku. They continue to eat and talk until Izuku gets an alert from his phone. It was a text from Keizo asking if he wanted to join him for dinner at his uncle's restaurant in Chinatown. He agreed and went back to eating. After finishing his meal, Izuku decided to talk again. You got any plans for the rest of the day? He asked, looking up at his friend. Yeah, actually, I'll be checking in on your action later, but I've got this idea for these capsule containers that can store any item on the go. Taku said excitedly. What do you mean? Izuku asked. Picture this. Being able to keep a car, a house or a plane inside a little capsule and take it with you wherever you go. Or maybe a fridge, or a gym bag, or a buffet of food kept nice and warm. When you need it, just press a button on the capsule and throw it and it comes out. It's not too different from how you put on your suit from pressing a button. Izuku's mind began to run through all the ways of how such an invention could drastically improve daily life. Taku, you innovative genius never ceases to amaze me, and you claim you're not smart. He said jokingly. What can I say, creativity means you gotta push the bounds. He said with a confident smile. The boys were brought out of their jovial vibe when they heard the loud crash that sounded like crushed metal. They ran outside to see that a train on an overpass had been wrapped in metal. It was as if all the metal on the overpass and track was a snake that coiled around the train, and it was squeezing it. And on top of this wrapped up train was a man with short black hair and demonic yellow eyes wearing a black sleeveless jacket, baggy camouflage jeans and black combat boots. His left arm was dark in color, but his right arm, starting from his forearm, was in the shape of a long, dark sword with pointy spikes sticking out on the edges of the blade. All Might, I know you're in the city. Get out here and fight me, symbol of peace. Or I'll crush this train and everyone in it. Or maybe I should hack up a few of these fools so you know I'm serious. He ended this statement as the spikes on his sword began to move along the blade at a high speed, turning it into a deadly saw. He then swung his sword into the train, cutting into it like a hot blade through butter. Screams could be heard as he pulled his sword out, and the villain smiled. Ah, it looks like I missed that time, wonder if I'll miss a second time. He said with a sinister grin. Izuku and Taku exchanged one look at each other but said nothing as Izuku headed down a nearby ally with Taku standing at the front of it. He got into his costume and jumped high into the air before soaring towards the villain with Skywalk. Back with the villain, he clearly had a short fuse and no patience, which reminded one of someone he knew. Continued to scream for All Might to show up. All Meat. The villain roared as he made a gripping motion with his left hand and the metal wrapped around the train began to tighten. All Might couldn't make it, you're gonna have to settle for one. Came an unknown voice. The villain looks up to see a green-clad hero flying towards him at high speeds. One what? One dumbass. He really thinks I'm playing. The villain said, angry as he thrust his sword at the incoming hero. One outstretched a fist, ready to connect with the deadly saw sword. The moment the two made contact, the sword began to shatter, shrinking lower and lower until one reached his true arm, breaking it completely in the process. The villain roared in pain as he stumbled back and the hero landed on the train. He had no time to recover as in a blur of speed one punched him 3 times in the face, 5 times in the chest and one heavy blow to the gut before finishing him with a kowloy. The final blow was so strong it knocked the villain unconscious and sent him flying off the overpass, but the hero grabbed him by his leg before he could fall to the ground. He placed the unconscious villain further up the tracks before going to check on the people in the train. Many of the windows were broken and he could see the people inside, giving them a reassuring smile. He got to work bending the metal to free the doors so the people could get out. After freeing the door in the front car, he went in and spoke to the conductor, and it was also good that no one was injured in this section. All right, it's good that everyone is okay here, we're gonna get you all out. You can still open the doors to the other cars, correct? He asked, turning to the conductor. Yes, I can. The power wasn't that badly damaged. That's good. I'm going to unwrap the train and check on the rest of the passengers. He looked out one of the windows and saw empty. Lady coming. He then smiled at the people in the car. And you'll all be on the ground before you know it. He was quickly able to free the train from its metal trap just as several pros had arrived. While normally quick to try and capture him, right now the main objective was helping the people. After going to all of the cars and saw that everyone was okay, he began taking out 2 to 3 people at a time. Mount. Lady was good at helping people get back on the ground and the police threw the villain into an ambulance. After all of the people were safe, one began to take his leave, but he was stopped by a woman and her son. The woman was as tall as his own mother with long black hair and blue eyes. Her son was a boy that looked around 7 with scruffy black hair, blue eyes, pointy ears and a thin devil's tail. Wait. Before you go, my son is a fan of yours and he'd really like to meet you. The hero was taken back by this, and though he doesn't do this for fame or praise, it still surprised him that he had a fan. I have a fan, he stated, raising an eyebrow under his mask. Yes, you do. You saved me and my son today. He thinks you're cool and wanted to say something. The hero could only smile, lowering himself to the child's level. Hey, what's your name? He asked the child with a smile. My name is Rin Okumara and thank you for saving me and my mom. The kid was so nervous he almost yelled his thanks. The hero only smiled before putting a soft hand on the nervous child. You're very welcome, Rin, it wasn't a problem at all. He said, his hero voice oozing with confidence. Yeah, because no matter what it is, you got this right. The kid perked up, now excited. That's right, one said, continuing to smile at the boy. However, Rin's expression suddenly changed as if he was now thinking of something unpleasant. Yes. How do you do the things you do? Everyone says you're a bad guy even though you help people. They say you're a villain on TV all the time because you're not a pro, but you do it anyway. How? The hero had to take in the child's words, actually a bit surprised he would ask such a question, but the look on his face told him that there was more to it. His thoughts were proven right when his mom whispered in his ear about kids calling him a demon because of his quirk, which is called demon. It increases his physical abilities and allows him to conjure blue flames. She also told him of how he beat one of the kids so badly he went to the hospital, and now everyone walks on eggshells around him. Finally getting a clear picture, the hero finally had an answer for the child. Rin, do you know what it means to be a hero? The child looked as if he was in thought, but he had no answer. No. One smiled. Being a hero means you do what's right because it's the right thing to do. It doesn't matter what quirk you have as long as you help and stand up for those in trouble, not because of what you'll gain but because it's right. Then it doesn't matter what people say. You want to be a hero, don't you, Rin? he asked, being able to see right through the child. The black-haired boy looked up at the hero with eyes burning with determination. Yes. One's smile continued to shine. Well then, pay a visit to Rising Sky Dojo. Your mom told me people call you a demon. Well, the masters of that dojo are the nicest and scariest monsters you'll ever meet. I think they'll like you, he said before turning to the boy's mother, bowing his head and leaping away. That was a good kid. If all goes well, he'll become a new disciple and a great hero in the future. He soared through the city using Skywalk before getting a call on his hero phone. It was Taku. Nice job, bro. Not every day I get to see you work in person. I'm just glad I stepped in when I did. That guy was crazy. By the way, did you know I had fans? I suspected it, but I haven't seen anyone fan clubs online or anything. Did you meet one? Yeah, this little boy with a demon quirk. We had a good chat and I think he'll be an awesome hero in the future, he said, excited about Rin's development at the dojo. Well, if you set the standard, then it can only lead to good things. I gotta go, keep an eye out for that sludge villain, he said before hanging up, putting his phone back in the pouch on his belt. Taku is a damn good sidekick, he really stays on it. Should he have a codename? Questions for later. Now let's patrol around the city. He patrolled for a half hour with no action and was standing on the roof of a building. While there were days like this where nothing happened or other heroes got to the scene first, he didn't mind wrapping up a little early today since he was having dinner with Keizo at 8. He still had a couple hours, so he figured he'd run it out before heading to the dojo. He was suddenly brought out of his thoughts by the sound of loud, multiple explosions a few blocks away. Using his parkour skills, he rushes to the scene. He makes it to the roof of a building overlooking a crowd of people standing behind 3 pro heroes, Death Arms, and Kamui Woods in front of an alleyway. He overhears someone from the crowd say that a villain has taken a kid hostage. The alley was on fire and he suddenly heard another explosion. Looking down the alley, he could see the escaped sludge villain and someone trapped inside his body. To his shock and horror, it was Kachan. The way his body was trapped, it was clear he was suffocating. The pros were just standing there watching, probably because their quirks aren't suited to handle this. But he could see Kachan's face, and the look in his eye was one of pure fear and terror. His eyes desperately called for help. Despite how bad he's been all their lives, right now he needed help. He needed a hero. Launching from the building at a speed that broke the sound barrier several times over, he landed between the heroes and the villain in a crouching position. His feet cracked the pavement and all eyes were on him, the look of shock clear on the face of everyone watching him. Everything will be just fine, because I got this. His hero voice exuded confidence as his eyes narrowed behind his mask. The spectators barely had time to register his words as in a flash he was down the alley in front of the villain. Digging into the sludge, he grabbed Kachan's arm and in one smooth motion pulled him free before jumping back towards the heroes. The ash-blonde teen was crouched over, finally able to take in some air. The hero looked down at him. You okay, kid? He was just able to correct himself as he turned to face the shocked villain who had just lost his captive in the blink of an eye. How did you do that? When did you do that? Who the hell even are you? The villain roared. I see you haven't heard of me. Some call me the Green Wind Vigilante, the Emerald Flash of Musutafu. But you can just call me one, he said, his hero voice confident and proud before lunging at the villain again. Dragon Gale. He performed a high spin kick that quickly morphed into a powerful tornado with the head of a dragon with long whiskers. The attack dove down with the villain being consumed by the vortex, making him spatter in all directions. It then shot back into the sky, parting the clouds before dispersing. One stood triumphant, his bright smile confirming complete victory as he turned to face the heroes and the crowd. Then a light rain began to fall. The sudden change in weather seemed to bring the people out of their amazed state. He changed the weather with one kick, a bystander exclaimed, setting off a loud applause. Did you record that move he did? He was so fast I could barely follow what was happening. So that's the vigilante everybody talks about. He's shorter than I imagined. Guess the rumors are true, he does have multiple quirks. He saved that kid right in the nick of time. Think I can get a selfie with him? Dude, that was awesome. The police, fire department and news had arrived and the police were able to collect the sludge that had been scattered throughout the alley and were preparing to take the villain to jail. Meanwhile, Bakugo was being praised for his bravery and for his flashy quirk. And one was having a somewhat conversation with the heroes. He and the heroes were standing away from everyone else with the three obviously trying to corner him, but he pretended not to notice. "We had that situation under control, you punk." Death Arms almost growled at him. "Come on, you don't have to save face with me, Death Arms. It was obvious that in another minute you would have had a dead kid on your conscience with still no way to beat the villain," he said calmly. This only seemed to make the hero angrier though. "The fact is you can't keep interfering in hero operations like this," Kamui Woods said in an attempt to lecture the hero. "I watched for roughly 30 seconds while you three were watching a kid slowly die. Let me guess you weren't saving him because your quirks were not suited for the job, so you waited for someone who was to show up." The looks on their faces turned to ones of shame. "You don't have to thank me, but don't try to lecture me for being a hero. This isn't a game, I don't do this for fun," he said, his voice risen to almost a yell. "Then why do you do this?" asked MT. "Lady, I'm a hero. Plus it's only natural to help those who need it, right? Only if you have the credentials to do so," Death Arms shouted. "Death Arms, please, don't take the fact that someone has credentials, certificate or a license for something that means they are qualified or good at doing what their credentials say they are. Nothing matters more than actions and results." This left all three heroes in shock as they looked at the vigilante. The same vigilante they can't seem to catch, that seems to be on top of everything more than heroes are. Kamui Woods had a question for the hero. "Speaking of, a group of smugglers were busted in Suruga Bay the other day. Several anonymous calls exposed the operation and the smugglers as well as their buyers were arrested after being found. Would you know anything about that?" "Yes, that was me," he said without a hint of sarcasm. One suddenly felt a strong breeze followed by, "I am here," turning around to see the symbol of peace himself standing near the police. "Hey All Might, you're a little late to the show," he said, jokingly. "I can see that, but it looks like everything is just fine, so it's okay." However, his eyes narrowed as he stared down the green-clad hero. "I have been wanting to meet you for a while now, one." "Oh, the number one hero wants to meet me. I'm honored, how can I help you?" he asked with a smile. "I need you to come with me so you can answer all of my questions down at the station." His voice was completely serious, his smile not shifting in the slightest. "Sorry All Might, I'm afraid I can't do that, maybe some other time." His smile also not shifting in the slightest. In a flash of speed the top hero rushed behind him. "You thought you had a choice," his voice bellowed as he stood behind the illegal hero. Or that's what he thought, because one was gone. "I always have a choice, All Might," came a voice from behind him. Turning around he was shocked to see the vigilante standing behind him. Even more shocking was that he didn't even see him move. Fwoosh. All Might attempted to rush behind him again, this time more focused. "Do you now?" he said, once again looking down at nothing. "That's right," one said, once again behind the hero with his arms crossed. The two began a dance of All Might trying to get behind one, with the illegal hero always staying one step ahead of the number one hero. They were moving so fast that no one could follow what was happening, the three other pros as well as the news team and a few citizens watching in awe. After doing this a dozen times, one decided it was time to move on. When All Might tried to get behind him again, instead of outpacing him again, the hero just jumped away. He was so focused on dealing with All Might that he didn't notice a large pile of debris in the alley until he landed in it. Startled, he quickly recovered and found himself standing in the middle of a soft mound of pillows and crates that had been used to cushion a previous hero training event. One laughed lightly at the minor surprise before stepping out carefully, brushing himself off. Turning his attention back to the city, he saw MT. Lady arriving to help clear the debris from the scene. "Careful up there," she called with a smile, waving as she passed by to assist the citizens. One nodded, grateful for the backup, and made a mental note to coordinate with her next time. He then used Skywalk to ascend above the city, scanning for any further incidents. From above, he noticed a young boy kicking a soccer ball on the sidewalk, dangerously close to the street. One swooped down at high speed, scooping up the boy and the ball just before a car sped by. Placing him safely on the sidewalk, he smiled warmly. "Thank you, mister," the boy said, relieved. "No problem. Remember to play safely, okay?" One replied. The boy waved and ran off to the park. "All Might, who had just touched down nearby, watched the scene unfold. That was impressive, one. You really saved him just in time, he said, nodding in approval. Thanks, All Might, one said with a confident smile. Let's keep the city safe. With that, he took off again, patrolling above the rooftops, ready for whatever incident might come next. One continued on his patrol until it was time to have dinner with his master. Nothing was as eventful as the metal and sludge villains, but he was able to stop a purse snatcher, a carjacker and some Sunday drivers before he was done for today. Making his way to an area a few blocks from the dojo, he finds a secluded spot to get out of his costume before changing and heading over. It had already gotten dark and no student would normally still be here during this time, however he felt on edge the moment he opened the front door. He scanned the courtyard for any threats as he walked towards the main house, and though he couldn't see them, he knew someone looking to fight was watching him. Out of nowhere, he was rushed by two blurs on both sides. One threw a punch at his left side while the other went for a kick. Izuku raised both arms to block the attacks. His attackers were two figures dressed in black cloaks and both were shorter than he was. Using his elbow, he deflected the punch and slammed a back fist into their chest, sending them flying a good distance away. In the same motion, he grabbed the kicker's leg and spun them off safely. Taking a moment to assess, something felt off. They moved with surprising agility and coordination. Quickly realizing this, Izuku noted that his opponents were clearly skilled martial artists, not just ordinary challengers. The puncher began to stand, readying another barrage of punches. Using his Sikuken, Izuku deflected the attacks effortlessly. The kicker came in with a flurry of high kicks, but Izuku used one of their feet as leverage to flip behind them. He countered with a flying kick, spinning into a whirlwind kick that sent both attackers sprawling. The two regrouped, moving in perfect synchronization. Each attack they threw was faster and stronger, but Izuku blocked, deflected, and countered each one with precision. A punch from the lead attacker caused a shockwave when he blocked it with his left hand. A kick from the kicker forced him sideways, but he quickly regained his stance. Before another attack could land, a familiar voice called out, "You kids done playing? We do have to get going, you know." Izuku looked up to see his master walking towards them. "Glad you could make it, Izuku. I knew how this would go down, but they insisted on doing this cloaked challenger thing," he said, chuckling. The attackers relaxed. One of them spoke with a playful tone. "Cut us some slack, sensei. I just wanted to see if Izuku's improved, plus I wanted a chance to challenge him a little." Izuku's eyes widened as he recognized one of the voices. Kyuki. The cloaks were thrown off to reveal Kyuki Tabahara, Keizo's daughter. She had black hair in half up, half down space buns and a confident, cheerful expression. "Been a while, huh Izuku?" she asked, grinning. He smiled back. "It hasn't been that long. Who's your friend?" The other figure revealed herself, a girl with short, wavy ash blonde hair, arms crossed, clearly ready for a challenge. "Hi, I'm Sake Okoto," she said, scowling. Kyuki immediately threw an arm around Sake to lighten the mood. "Don't mind her, she's just competitive. Once you get to know her, she's a total goofball," she explained, giggling. Izuku chuckled nervously. "Well, you two certainly know how to make an entrance," he said. Sake huffed but finally cracked a small smile, and Kyuki giggled at the whole situation, clearly enjoying the playful reunion. "What brings you two here anyway? Just visiting?" "More like getting acquainted. I'll be living with Daddy and Auntie through high school, Sake too if all goes well," Kyuki said in a chipper tone. "Really? What school do you plan on going to?" "We plan on going to Sakai High." "Me too," Izuku said excitedly. "The entrance exams are in 3 weeks, so let's get out there and kill it," Kyuki exclaimed excitedly. "You'll have plenty of time to talk about it over dinner, let's go kids," Keizo stated before they all headed to the restaurant for an amazing Chinese-style dinner. "Hey Kyuki. You said that you'll be living at the dojo through high school. We usually only see you during breaks and holidays around here. Is your mom okay with this?" It took a bit of convincing, but Mama finally relented and said yes. "I've only lived with her and always wanted to come stay with Daddy and Auntie, so better late than never," she said, excitedly. "Yes, this has been a long time coming. I'm just glad it wasn't too much of a fight to make it happen," Keizo chimed in. Keizo and Kyuki's mom divorced when she was 5 and her mom took her back to her hometown of Okinawa City where her family runs their own dojo. Keizo never went a month without seeing her, visiting whenever he could, and they stayed in touch constantly via phone calls or video chat. Whenever Kyuki was out of school she would always spend the break with her father and her aunt, asking to live with them on multiple occasions only for her mom to say no. Keizo doesn't have a friendly relationship with his ex-wife, but they are relatively good at co-parenting. His daughter even once jokingly applauded him for being the one to file for divorce. "Hey Okoto, you'll be living at the dojo too, right? How long have you two known each other?" Izuku asked. The blonde-haired girl turned to him with a less angry expression. "It's been about 5 years now. We've been classmates since forever, so we were always sort of friends. Then I became a student at her family's dojo and we became real friends. I wanted to go to school on the mainland and the dojo is close enough to the school I want to go to. We also have plenty of space, so I didn't see the harm in letting her come too." Keizo said with a smile. "Well, things will certainly be interesting with you two around. It would be really good if we were classmates," Izuku said with an enthusiastic smile. "Let's hope it goes down that way." Joy was evident in Kyuki's eyes as she said this, with a look that didn't go unnoticed by her father. The way his daughter was looking at his top disciple made Keizo remember the talk he had with or the warning he received from his ex-wife about their daughter. Of course Izuku is like a son to him, but there is no stopping prepubescent desires. His daughter was a strong, smart, immensely talented girl who from day one he raised to know what she wants, know how she feels, and to be able to articulate it. He would rather her not rush these things, but if she was going to choose anyone, he's glad it was Izuku. He would have to have a talk with him soon and just hope everything fares well. Izuku Midoriya and Takumi Fujiwara were officially graduates of Aldera Junior High. Along with Kyuki Tabahara and Sake Okoto, they passed the entrance exam for Sakai High School with flying colors. They were all placed in the same class and would begin classes in 1 week. The friends decided to relax and enjoy the week, making plans to get together for the festival tomorrow. "Hey, you wanna develop an app?" Taku said with a smile, but in a voice that was as casual as you can get for a sales pitch. Izuku and Taku were sitting on the balcony of Taku's room waiting for Taku's drone to deliver their lunch when he brought this up. "Why an app?" Izuku responded casually. "It's an app you'd want to develop." "What kind of app would it be?" the greenette asked. Taku's casual smile shined. "Good question, Izu, that's the most important question and the first step in app development." His tone remained casual. "Okay, I'll bite. Why would I want to develop an app?" Izuku responded, curious to his answer. "You do not need an app, one does. Primarily because he does not, or in other words cannot, have a hero agency. I'm sure you already know this, but dozens or sometimes hundreds of requests come into a hero agency every day, asking for help about something. Imagine if you had an app that you could notify the public the moment you go on patrol, and instead of reporting those incidents to the police who send it to hero agencies, the public sends those requests to you, personally asking for your help. You could still listen to the police scanner and radio in your cowl, but if you had a list of reported crimes on your hero phone, you could handle them and then call the cops and pros to come clean up," he explained excitedly. He thought about it for a moment before responding again. "That's all good, but couldn't villains and the authorities use it to lure me into traps?" "Let them. Have you met you? They'd basically be inviting you to come and kick their asses, and it's not like they could catch you anyway." "That sounds like a win-win to me," he said, putting both thumbs up. "It would definitely feel like I'm a one-man hero agency, but with fewer steps." "Let's do it," Izuku said excitedly. "You've gotten even more famous over the past few weeks. There's not a doubt in my mind this will be a success, and the best part is you tell them when you're on patrol. That way you're not being beat down with constant requests." I guess you're right," he chuckled. His fame had grown over the past few weeks as he was mentioned in the news practically every week. The public talked about him a lot, with many people his age and young adults just seeing him as a hero and liking him more than most pros. The news interviewed people he saved numerous times, but they refused to denounce his actions. He held nothing against them, but his rapport with heroes was not great, as he usually got to scenes first and many of them were over before any pros arrived. The media made a point to ask if a vigilante was outworking heroes. It was controversial and just made even more pros in the city hate him. The public support was strongly leaning towards him over licensed heroes. He would also step in and end a situation if he felt pros were taking too long, and the worst part of it was they could never catch him. He left before the public could praise him, but that just left resentful heroes. With this app he could still do what he had always done, just a little more organized. His stomach had started rumbling loud enough that Taku could hear. They had been waiting for food for a while now. The drone left for Sumire Town, the next town over, to get lunch from an awesome restaurant called Yukihira. Remind me again, why did you need to get Yukihira when you literally have personal chefs downstairs? Better yet, why didn't we just go there, considering it's only the next town over? We'd be there in 20 minutes by train. Izuku asked, annoyed by hunger. Because Soma is leaving for culinary school and his dad is taking off for work overseas, so this may be my last chance to get it for a while. He answered, looking out to the sky for the drone. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Why does Soma need to go to culinary school? How the hell should I know? Apparently his dad recommended it. Anyway, shouldn't you be happy? When's the last time you even had Yukihira? Izuku thought back to when he last had their delicious food. Like a month ago, when you asked me to be your wingman with those cute girls from Kunugagaoka Junior High. Remember? Oh yeah, Ryo Nakamura and Toka Yada, a couple of bodacious beauties. You and Yada seemed to hit it off, so what's been happening there? She's going to Sakai with us, right? We text and talk on the phone sometimes. I saw her at the examination, but who knows? Izuku said as he shrugged his shoulders. What about you and Nakamura? We talk sometimes, but it's not like we would ever date or anything. She just wants to have sex. I just want to have sex. We're bang buddies. You should think about getting one. He joked as he looked out for the drone. Yeah, I'll get right on that, he said, clearly sarcastic. Just then the drone came back and landed on the little table between them. Taku popped open the drone and the boys were met with an explosion of delicious aroma that made their mouths water. Just from the scent they could tell these were Soma's dishes. Taku ordered shalapan steak while Izuku ordered Yukihira-style fried rice. After finishing their meal, the two friends went back to relaxing. Izuku decided to ask his friend for help with something he'd been thinking about for a while. Hey Taku, can we go down to the lab? I have something I want to try. Sure, we can. You wanna practice a new move or something? He asked curiously. Yeah, my dad sent me comics of some American heroes and they did something I think I can do too. Now I'm curious, what are you trying to do? He asked with a raised eyebrow. Phase through matter, Izuku said casually. Let's go, Taku exclaimed as they headed to the lab. Entering the lab, they find Shintaro Fujiwara sleeping on a couch bed. Taku begins to shake the old man to wake him up. Yo grandpa, get up, new discovery time, let's go. The old man opens his eyes, clearly annoyed with his grandson, before muttering out, what new discovery? Izuku's trying to phase through matter, the boy casually stated. With the speed and agility of someone 3x younger, the old man jumps up and rushes over to the testing area, ordering the two teens to hurry over so they can start. Izuku and Taku made their way over to the testing area, with Taku joining his grandfather, and Izuku went to put on the test suit. After 5 minutes, Izuku entered the testing field. It was a black, flat floor area about the length of a standard gymnasium, with a technical room overlooking it. In the technical room, computers were showing all Izuku's vitals and readings were normal, at least in reference to him, and they began to run some tests. Midoriya, before we begin, what exactly inspired this idea? Shintaro asked through the intercom. Ever heard of the Flash? The Greenette asked. American comic book hero, super speed. What about him? Well, by using his super speed he can vibrate his molecules to the point he can phase through solid matter and even turn invisible. After I read that in a comic my dad sent me, I actually tried it and phased my arm through the door in my room. However, I wanted to be in a more controlled environment before trying it again. You're attempting this through molecular oscillation, interesting. Okay, well, let's begin. The old man exclaimed excitedly before pressing a button and the floor opened to reveal a long, thick wooden board. Izuku took a deep breath before he began to vibrate his body. The Fujiwara men observed as his body looked to be making afterimages, then blurry as he vibrated faster and faster than he looked normal, as if he wasn't vibrating. Izu, you okay? Taku asked. Yeah, I'm fine. This isn't as stressful as I thought it would be. I just have to concentrate. His voice was filtered, but it still sounded like him. Try moving and holding that state as long as you can, and when you're ready try to phase through that board. Taku suggested. For the next 2 hours Izuku ran through several drills to test his new technique. Becoming intangible and invisible was the easy part, but just being able to do that wasn't enough. His drills included him phasing through multiple, different walls of matter, turning it off on call and simulating saving someone. Becoming invisible to perform various tasks while deceiving several sensors and defense mechanisms in the lab. Using a dozen battle robots to attack him only for the attacks to phase through him and then destroying them in multiple ways. Phasing through machine gun fire with rubber bullets from all sides and standing untouched from a massive flamethrower. Sticking relatively weak bombs to him and having him phase through a wall while keeping the bombs tangible. The most difficult aspect of his drills was phasing through matter while moving at anything beyond supersonic. Controlling his speed, maintaining his vibration state, dropping the state when necessary and keeping all of his senses alert to be aware of anyone in trouble required some serious concentration and multitasking on his part. He was sure he could use this technique reliably even after just 1 day of training, but it still needed more work. Let's call it a day, Izu. Remember we're relaxing before school, plus aren't you going out tonight? The gray-haired teen asked. I could do this for days, Taku, you know that. But you're right, let's call it a day. Izuku said before leaving to take off the test suit. Meeting back with the Fujiwaras, he saw that Taku's mom had come down during his testing and was speaking with her son. His grandpa was reviewing the footage of his drills like a giddy schoolboy. Hello Mrs. Fujiwara, how are you today? He asked before respectfully bowing to the woman. I've been fine Midoriya, I hear you have been doing quite well. You've certainly got my father-in-law in a good mood. Don't judge me daughter. Every chance to see Midoriya casually break the laws of physics is a moment to bask in. Taku merely smiled at his grandfather before turning to his friend. He's gonna be in a good mood studying that footage for quite a while. Well, got a name for this new technique. Yeah, I came up with it during the drills, I call it Phase One, he said confidently. Taku just looked at him after hearing his answer, not saying a word. As your sidekick I have to tell you that's effing lame. He said bluntly. Don't judge me, I like it. The green-haired boy shot back defensively. Midoriya residence the next day. Izuku wakes up at his usual time to get up and do his morning routine. Last night was uneventful, so hopefully today will be more active. While most people would take this opportunity to sleep in, Izuku knows very well that villains can take advantage of morning peace. Plus he was really hoping for an opportunity to test out his new move on someone. He also knew that one wouldn't be very active today as he would be heading to Kawasaki later with his friends, so he would try to do as much harrowing as he could until they all had to meet at the dojo. He recommended against it, but Momo insisted that they all ride together in a limo, as she would be chauffeured anyway and had plenty of space. Taku didn't care and the other girls didn't seem to mind, so it was settled. Taku would meet at his place, she'd pick them up and they would go to the dojo to get the others. Izuku learned from Keizo a long time ago that as a martial artist, a strong one at that, it was important not to have a single ounce of useless muscle on the body. He had spent all of these years training his mind and body to be as strong as possible, and though he would never stop training, he decided that he didn't need to gain strength anymore as he had gained enough. So he stopped strength training and focused solely on form and technique in his workouts. His new morning routine consisted of a run around the city, then he would go to the beach to practice his fighting style. His run around the city was peaceful, no bad guys were acting up, people were making their way to work, all was right with the world. He ended his run at Dagoba Beach, going to the far side to practice in peace and train for the next hour and a half. He then headed home to take a shower and have some breakfast before going back out and patrolling the city. The city was now active, and one was on the rooftops looking over the people for any and all crimes. He could see other heroes also on patrol, but he paid them no mind. Until school started he had loads of free time that he only normally had on the weekends, and he was going to use it. He had been a hero for almost half a year now, and he knew the city well enough to know the moment something was off. He leapt from the building he was standing on and using skywalk he arrived just in time to catch a window cleaning platform that had just snapped, saving the men standing on it. He then moved on to scoop up a woman crossing the street in time to not be hit by a clearly distracted driver. Two masked men were beating up a man in an alley. Just as one of them was about to hit him again, his arm was grabbed and he was horrified to see one. He and his accomplice were swiftly knocked out. He called the cops and got the man medical attention. Thief. Someone call a hero. He heard someone yell in the distance. Phase 1. Activating his new move, he took a shortcut through several buildings, coming out into an empty backstreet with a man wearing a mask carrying a briefcase running straight at him. He deactivated his technique and outstretched his right hand with the man running face first into it and using his own momentum to slam the thief's head to the ground. He calls the police and returns the briefcase to the owner. He suddenly hears a ruckus as he skywalks through the city. He looks down to see 8 men robbing a convenience store. They were carrying food, drinks, supplies, an ATM, and loading into a pickup truck. They all had black hoodies and black jeans with the same blonde hair and scar running down their foreheads. They're not even trying to disguise themselves. This is obviously some kind of cloning Quirk. One thought as he sprung into action. The truck started and they were about to take off, but the truck wouldn't budge. The driver and front passenger looked ahead in horror, seeing the city's infamous vigilante with his hand pressed on the hood keeping the car in place. The two clones narrow their eyes at the hero as the driver fully slams the gas. The car still doesn't move, with one's hand sinking into the metal as they could see the smoke and hear the sound of peeling tires. Then came a loud pop and the truck dropped. What the hell? The clones in the back yelled in unison. I'm gonna need you guys to return all of that stuff. One said in a tone that left no room for debate. The clones got out of the truck and tried to gang up on him. The driver was first. He threw a punch that the hero easily dodges and counters with a punch to his side. To the hero's shock, the man dissolves into a brown puddle. I'm gonna assume that that won't happen to the real one, so let's get this over with, shall we? He said, getting into his stance and making them all shudder with fear. In a flash he delivered heavy blows to the 7 remaining men, but he was shocked again to see that they all dissolved into puddles. I guess the real one let his clones do all the work. It's smart if nothing else. The store employee had come out and had seen the entire incident. One helped him return all of the stolen goods and put the ATM back, giving him 2 free burgers before moving on. He stands on a building and scarfs down the 2 burgers, then goes back on watch. He rushes to help a couple being carjacked by 2 masked men. The men have their guns drawn and in the next moment they were gone. The 2 look at each other like Dumb and Dumber. Hey guys, you know why guns are called the coward's weapon? The potential car thieves turn around to see the illegal hero. Everyone talks about holding their guns in each of his hands. It's because there is no effort or challenge in it. Anyone can pull a trigger. I will never understand how that makes some people feel powerful, he said casually before crushing the guns between his hands like soda cans. You're one, the woman asked, sounding hopeful. The green-clad hero smiled. That's right, and I got this, he declared, his hero voice shining with confidence. The failed thieves rush at him together. Phase 1, he said as the men attacked him. One of them lunged at his head while the other went for his gut, but to their shock they phased right through him. The men were clearly shocked. One deactivated his technique, then grabbed them both by the head before slamming them together and knocking them out. He turned around to face the couple and saw that the woman was already calling the police. You two okay? He asked with a smile. Yeah, thanks to you, the man said. He was a tall young man in his mid-20s with slick black hair wearing a black suit. The police are on their way. Thank you so much, said the woman with gratitude. She was average height, in her mid-20s with long brown hair with brown eyes, with a curvy figure wearing a yellow sundress. It's crazy how a simple lunch with my wife could almost lead to this, the man said, annoyed at the potential thieves. Yeah, I've often wondered why someone would actually take the time out to just ruin someone else's day. It vexes me how some people have nothing better to do. Well, no matter what anyone else says, you are a hero in my book. Here, if you ever need a lawyer, give me a call, he said as he handed him a business card for him and his law firm. Thank you, you folks have a good day, he said, giving them a smile before leaping away. He went back to flying across the city with Skywalk when he heard someone call his name. Came a voice that sounded like a child. He looked to his left to see a bluish, black-haired boy with big blue eyes who looked no older than 9 trying to wave him down. He goes down to see what this kid could want. Hey kid, what's up? He asks the boy the moment he landed. I need help finding my sister cat, he said casually. The hero raised an eyebrow under his mask and crossed his arms after hearing his request. Your sister cat. The kid clearly heard his confusion in his voice. Yeah, my sister cat. She's my sister, but also my cat. Well, parents do treat their pets like their kids sometimes, so I guess this is just one of those. The hero thought. Okay, I'll help, but do you know where she is? What does she look like? She's about this big, and she's black. She likes to hang out in the trees in the park over there, but I can't climb the taller ones and she knows that. My mom wanted me to come get her, but she could be anywhere. The kid explained. Okay, I can help you out. What's her name? And yours? My name is Taro and my sister cat is Miyuki. He answered. All right, I got this, he exclaimed before he and the boy walked through the park to look for the cat. Using his scanners, he was able to spot the cat laying on the branch of a tall tree. He jumps up, landing on the branch and crouches in front of the cat. It doesn't look afraid and welcomes his touch as he picks her up. He lands gently back on the ground and calls Taro over. Miyuki purred gently in his arms. He gently pets the cat and she clearly enjoys it. You're a good girl, aren't you? He says before bringing her up and rubbing noses. Suddenly the cat burst into a plume of smoke. He was still holding it, but it felt much heavier. As the smoke cleared, the cat was replaced with the form of a cute girl around his age, with big blue eyes, long black hair and wearing a white dress. The girl was beet red as her face was inches from his as he was lifting her up by holding her waist. If you two wanna make kissies, I can leave, you know, came the teasing voice of Taro. Shut up, Taro, the girl yelled. Can you please put me down one? She asked in a much calmer tone. The hero placed her on the ground. The surprise of the situation finally faded a bit. So this is what you meant by sister cat, he said, looking at the young boy and understanding his words from earlier. Yeah, what did you think I meant? It's not important. Well, I'll be going now. You two get home safe and have a good day. He waved at the siblings as he prepared to take off. Wait, Miyuki blurted out. He stops himself before running off. Yes. Her cheeks turned a bright shade of pink as she made a shy, nervous smile. Can I see your muscles? She asked softly. He gave her a confident grin. Sure, but why? He asked, genuinely curious. Her expression twisted into determination. You got to show me yours, so I think it's only fair I get to see yours too. She loves you, her younger brother sang, teasing loudly. I told you to be quiet. She snapped at him, rolling her eyes. She then went over to the hero and poked at his arms, pretending to check for strength, then bounced over to his shoulders and back. He flexed comically, making exaggerated superhero poses. She squinted at him through his sunglasses, trying to look serious but ended up laughing. Okay, you're definitely strong enough, she said, satisfied. Thanks, he said with a playful wink, flexing one last time as if he'd just won a contest. You know, you're the first person to ever ask to feel me up. I don't particularly mind though. I'm off, you two take care, he said before he ran off, leaving a mild gust of wind and a smiling, happy girl in his wake. One was running across rooftops doing parkour as he wondered if he had more fans like that girl when he heard Taku speak into his cowl. That was a little weird, don't you think? Meh, not really. Anything for my fans, right? I guess. You got an hour before Yaoyorozu should be at your place to pick us up. When are you going to head home? I'll head home in about a half hour. It'll give me time to decompress and change. Okay, I'll see you in a bit, Taku said. Ending his call with his sidekick, he goes back on alert. Spread out and keep your eyes open for one. He's been spotted around the city all day. If you see him, let me know. I'll be the one to bring him in. One heard someone say pretty close by, but he was pretty sure who it was. Walking to the ledge on the other side of the building he was standing on, looking down he could see Endeavor and the flaming sidekickers. He knew it was just a matter of time before he had a run-in with the number 2 hero, and with him being so active and in the news for something almost every week plus the public talking about him constantly, it was inevitable. Didn't realize I was such a popular guy today, he said loud enough for the pros to hear. Looking up, the pros could see the infamous vigilante they were looking for. The flame hero looked up at him with a naturally angry expression. Perfect timing, now come with me quietly down to the station, you wannabe hero. I'm afraid I have to decline endeavor, today is too good a day for something like that. He kindly said in a tone that only seemed to fan the hero's flames. He blasts off towards one using flashfire, but the illegal hero was already expecting this. He'll just chase after me, so I've got to quickly end this and get far enough away. He thought as the hero got closer. Endeavor shoots a blast of fire at him and he backflips to avoid it, landing in the center of the roof as the number 2 hero reaches the top. One gets in his stance, he knows what he has to do, and he could perfectly predict what Endeavor was going to do. His prediction was spot on as the hero rushed at him, cocking back his right hand into a flaming fist. Phase 1. He vibrates his body, making himself intangible as the pro throws his flaming punch at his face, passing completely through him. In that moment he was clearly shocked, but he didn't have a chance to dwell on it, as in that same moment one shifts and sinks his left fist into the hero's lower right abdomen. The pro coughs, dropping to a knee and clutching his lower body, clearly in a lot of pain. Sorry for that if it's any consolation, but I knew you'd just keep hounding me, so I had to hit you hard enough that you couldn't. He said gently yet stern. The pro hero only looked at him with a look of unbridled hatred, trying to stand, but it was clear the pain was too much. Well, I'm off, take care Endeavor. One said, giving a salute with his right middle and index finger before flying away with Skywalk. He was high in the air, soaring across the sky, when he heard a blast. Looking back he could see the flame hero blasting after him with his flames. The look of rage on his face was one only Kachan could mirror. Even in his early days of quirk analysis it was obvious that Endeavor's weakness was overheating. He kicked harder off the air, creating much larger, powerful and louder sonic booms, allowing him to soar faster and forcing Endeavor to turn up the heat just to try to keep up. He added zigzags and changed his direction in various ways so quickly the pro couldn't possibly keep up. The pro was going at full speed and wasn't even close to capturing the vigilante. After barely 2 minutes of chasing one across the city, he was suffering from the drawbacks of his quirk. He refused to let the illegal hero get away. He was pissed and needed answers. The pain of his punch was still coursing through his body. He had seen videos of one, and had heard the rumors of him having multiple quirks, but the most interesting and infuriating rumor was that he was comparable to All Might. Which didn't take long for him to see that it was true. As Endeavor kept pursuing the illegal hero, one suddenly stopped and floated in the air for a moment, looking directly at the incoming flame hero. A sly smile stretched across his face. He kicked the air, rushing head-on at a speed even faster than the pro. Endeavor cocks back another flaming fist. He and ONE are just meters from hitting each other. Skywalk. Flash step. In a flash the vigilante was gone, with Endeavor's punch hitting nothing but air. He stopped himself, looking around and floating in mid-air. Anger burned in him as he realized one was gone, and from the start he never had a chance of catching him. He leans up against a wall and nurses his lower abdomen. When he makes it back on the ground, his vision is blurry and his breathing is difficult. His sidekicks should show up any minute to cool him down. He was suddenly drenched in cold water from above that shocked and surprised him but was blissful. Looking up through the water, he could see one, on top of the building he was leaning against, emptying a gallon jug of water on him. I know about your quirk and its drawbacks, Endeavor. You really pushed it trying to catch me. I know it's not a lot, but I hope this negates the drawbacks somewhat. One said in his hero voice as he finished emptying the jug. The number 2 pro felt much better after that drenching, but his natural scowl still didn't fade as he looked at the vigilante with many thoughts. Before you ask, no, I didn't already have this. After I lost you, I ran into a nearby convenience store and bought this because I knew you'd need it. Well, I'm off. One saluted again with a smile as he took off, throwing the empty water jug in a dumpster as he ended his patrol for the day. Izuku changes out of his costume and makes it home to find his mom talking to Taku, who is wearing a black t-shirt over gray cargo shorts and black sneakers. After a little chatter he finally is able to get changed. He threw on a blue t-shirt over black shorts and a different version of his usual red shoes that were black with white soles. He felt he looked good and he was looking forward to this. He knew this wasn't a date by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe he could have a chance to shoot his shot with Momo. The bell rang with Izuku answering it to see Momo at the door. Her hair was in her trademark spiky ponytail and she was wearing a red, short-sleeve sundress and black ankle boots. He was mesmerized as he took in her gorgeous figure. Hey Momo, you look amazing, it's good to see you. He said with a confident smile. Thank you, you look good as well Izuku, are you ready to go? She also said with a smile. Yep, come on Taku. I'll see you later mom. He called for his friend as he went downstairs and got in the limo with Momo. The limo wasn't long but should still be spacious enough for everyone. The interior was black with long seats covering the whole right side and the back, the front left had a smaller seat, long enough for about 2 people. Right beside that was a snack station that just happened to have Michiko's favorite beer. There were 3 TVs, one above the snack station, one in the back left corner and one above the right side seats. He and Momo took a seat in the back as Taku made it down and got in. The 3 talked about various things, from hanging out again to school in a few days. The subject of one's hero app even came up, with Taku saying he could have it done in 2 weeks as he was busy with other stuff. They quickly arrived at the dojo and let themselves into the main house to find Keizo, Michiko and Kyuki waiting for them in the living room. The masters were dressed casually. Keizo was wearing a black collared t-shirt that showcased his muscles with gray jeans and black dress shoes. Michiko was wearing a tight, black t-shirt with black skinny jeans and black mid-calf boots. Her outfit from top to bottom really showcased her figure. While Kyuki with her hair straight was wearing a light green sleeveless blouse, black mid-calf skinny jeans and white and green low tops. You kiddies looking forward to this? Michiko asked the trio. Yes ma'am, this is gonna be fun. Taku said with a sly grin. While Momo and Izuku responded with a firm, joyous yes. Ms. Tabahara, mind if I use your bathroom? The Greynet asked. Sure go ahead, down the hall first door on the right. The woman responded while pointing to the hall on the left with her thumb. Taku makes his way to the nearest bathroom while Izuku and Momo talk with the Tabaharas. So are you all ready to go? Momo asks. We're all dressed, we're just waiting for Sake to get dressed. You two look a-looking, Kyuki said in a bubbly tone. You look great too, Izuku complimented, as she truly did as mirrored Momo's. Hope you guys enjoy second part of this story, do like, share and subscribe.